Excuse me while I whip this out.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Hope you're having a great Friday night. So you might have noticed that I missed last Friday. I couldn't do it. There was just prior obligations, but I think we should be good for at least another 3 or 4 weeks doing the Friday night live stream. I don't think there should be a problem. Let's see, Antipop in the chat already. Antipop is asking, do you think we'll see scantily clad fat women today? God damn it, fuck. I don't think I have any. We might have to go searching the internet for some, though, because, yeah, normally we use the fart sound effect, and I don't know if we're going to be able to do that unless we find that. There might be something in there. I don't know. Remind me later. If you haven't seen any scantily clad fat women thus far, once we're an hour or so into it, remind me, and maybe we'll go and see if we can find some. I think I know where to find them. But anyway, hope everybody's having a great night. Hope everybody's had a great week. And yeah, I guess we should probably just get to it. All right, so what are we going to talk about? I'll just quickly go through all of our stories. Trudeau government spends twice as much as it takes in revenue. So this is an example of insane things that far left governments do. So we'll go through that a little bit. Actor Michael Rapaport, he's going through quite a transformation, quite a journey, quite a political journey. He sounds like he might be going for Trump. He might be voting for Trump in the next election, which is absolutely not something I thought he was just fully in the cult. I thought he was completely in the cult, but it looks like he may be changing his mind. So it turns out with Michael Rapaport, he's starting to discover that the left actually doesn't like him very much, and they don't like him for a specific reason. Can you guess what that is? So, and by the way, he's still a terrible person, but he looks like he might be somebody who found that line where it's just too crazy. Then we are going to, and I've got a video here of him talking about what he's going to do. So we'll talk about that. Then we're going to go through Twitter, a bunch of stuff I've curated over the week. Just, the U.S. military in 2024. We'll talk about that. Here's Taylor Lorenz dancing at like a Pornhub award show. So I guess the Washington Post has sunk to a new low. Let's see. This is an awful, pretentious liberal woman who moved to Florida, and she's awful. Let's see. You've got far left extremists chanting for the fall of the United States in New York. So what else is new? We've got this crazy guy here who's, I think he's dancing because he's upset at climate change. So that'll be fun. And just a bunch of stuff. Like there's lots that should keep us going for a few hours anyway. But let's get back to where we started. Let's see. God's Tomahawk is asking, are you going to have rainbow-haired women argue that there's no such thing as women? I might have something in there. I don't know. If you don't see anything after a while, just maybe pop it in the chat and maybe we'll go try and find some. I think Deborah on Twitter, the parody account, Deborah Fauché, always says, I get a lot of hilarious stuff from her. So we can probably find something. But let's get started. So if you watch my channel, and you should probably subscribe if you're not already, because I'm putting out, last week I couldn't because I just had other things I had to do. I only put out about 7 or 8 videos last week. But I put out like 15 videos a week normally. And a lot of them are clips that I take from this live stream and I'll tidy them up. And then I just do some original ones as well, which are a little bit more produced. But if you subscribe to my channel and you watch my videos, you will notice that I hate Trudeau and that I'm very unhappy with what's happening to Canada. Canada is being wrecked by far left, just straight up far left lunatics, communists. I remember I had a friend who about 5 years ago, I said to him, there's like an actual rise in communism happening. Like there are actual communists getting into positions of power in all of our institutions. And he said, well, come on, you really think that we're going to have communism in Canada? And I said, yes, I do. I said, it's happening. They're weaseling their way into positions of power in all of the institutions, all of them. And they are all Marxists, all of them. What is the Cultural Revolution we're saying? This has happened before. The Maoist Cultural Revolution, it's exactly the same. The four olds that you had to get rid of. Basically, history and culture, everything. What else do you call what's happening in the Western world, whether it's Canada or Australia or the United States or Britain, certainly the Anglosphere? What do you call it other than a cultural revolution? I mean, we see they are trying to destroy our histories or misshape it into something unrecognizable, something that benefits them, something that benefits their ideology, something that will push our societies closer to being burnt down so that they can build up this imaginary Marxist utopia on the ashes. That is precisely what we're having. What else is happening exactly? Can somebody explain to me what else it could possibly be? We've seen this, right? I mean, maybe history doesn't repeat, but if it rhymes, it's rhyming. It's rhyming like Bob Dylan, only worse. Anyway, I guess that's the pre-show rant. So anyway, Trudeau is terrible and he's wrecking Canada. Trudeau government spends twice as much as it takes in revenue. And the cycle of deficit spending is only escalating. So if you like, inflation, that's great. Do you know that Canada now spends more money servicing the interest on the debt, the national debt, than it does on our much vaunted national health care? Spends more on that than health care, just on the interest of the debt now. That's under Trudeau. That's insane. That's insane. I mean, it's not at all surprising that a far-left government, that would happen under a far-left government. We have lots of examples in history. I think most Canadians don't know that, and that's the problem. The number of Canadians that know that, due to our toadying corporate press here, I think is probably in the single digits. I want to show you something quickly. Here's Canada's government debt. So here's where Justin Trudeau, let me bring this up a little bit. Here is where Justin Trudeau took over the country in 2015, right? That's where it was at then. So you can see every year it crept up until 2021, where it went absolutely insane. You might think that since then, COVID is not this massive thing anymore. No lockdowns, that maybe then you would have seen some responsible spending. Oh, no. Oh, no. Don't forget, Trudeau is a far-left lunatic. The only thing they know how to do is spend more money more specifically, all they know how to do is buy votes. That's it. Just try to buy votes and just waste money. Trudeau has spent hundreds of millions of dollars to finance advocacy groups in Canada to do nothing more than to search under every rock, every grain of sand, to find some sort of oppression, some sort of racism, some sort of sexism somewhere, and then report about it, then be an expert for the media. The media can go to them when they want to tell the Canadian people, when they want to lecture the Canadian people on how awful they are. That's hundreds of millions of dollars he spent on that. That is essentially just government propaganda. Because, of course, every advocacy group is a leftist, and they're all Marxists too. So they're going to like Trudeau, and they're going to hate conservatives. So it's a targeted weapon, essentially. So anybody who disagrees publicly with anything that the far leftists want to do then becomes racist, bigot, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's just a big scam. Paid for by Justin Trudeau, of course. So anyway, so here's the government debt. It's at 1.17 trillion. That's for 2023. Of course, it's going to be more next year. So that is the atmosphere that this is all happening. These are the circumstances under which the Trudeau government is spending twice as much as it takes in revenue. Just totally heedless. Don't care. Here's another $1 billion for some childcare scam that's never going to happen, right? The money 90% of the money will just be wasted by incompetent bureaucrats. Apparently, we can afford to have a new national dental plan, which, of course, is going to benefit very few people, but cost a fortune. Pharmacare plan for the whole country. Trudeau, can I just remind you, there's this whole thing here. There's this $1.17 trillion, a country of 40 million people. Sorry, 41 million. Trudeau brought in another million people in the last 9 months. So it's 41 million now. I guess the cure the remedy for the extreme strain that Trudeau's mass immigration policies have caused Canada is to just import more. Hey, just whatever they were doing, if there's problems, it's only because it wasn't far left enough, right? So just make it even more far left, and that will solve it. That'll solve the housing crisis. Bring in even more people. Bring in another million in 9 months. Accelerate the process. That's more left wing, right? That should work. I hope you guys are finding this entertaining because it's fucking depressing. Let's see. Invin says, how you doing, Invin? Trudeau blames the debt increase on COVID. Yeah, but you can see it's COVID's long over now, and spending isn't coming down, right? That's the problem. But he does say that, and they all say that. But it's bullshit, of course. Antipop says, books balance themselves. Yeah, Trudeau actually said that. He said the budget will balance itself. He said that, what, in 2015 or 2016? I believe it was. That didn't happen. Weirdly, that never happened. Weirdly, the books didn't actually balance themselves. You know, it's like saying, I'm just going to go out and just randomly spend money on my credit cards and not think about it, and it'll just kind of work itself out. Turns out that doesn't actually work. Trudeau also said that we'd have, in an interview, we'd have to forgive him if he didn't think about monetary policy. He actually said that. He said, you'll have to forgive me if I'm not thinking about monetary policy. I'm thinking about the hardworking families. It's like, okay, you do understand as the prime minister that monetary policy is extremely important for the well-being, for the financial well-being of like regular families in Canada. How can you be that retarded? I don't know. God gave him great hair. Brains, not so much. Invin says that crime is up with the immigration. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's just like, correlation there. I think it's pretty clear. You see the car theft rings that are finally starting to get arrested. And yeah, it's pretty obvious what's happening. But anyway. All right, just look at that goddamn face. It's just a face that was made to hate, wasn't it? Especially now. The Trudeau government is so awash in debt that it is actually spending twice as much as it receives in revenue. But don't worry, he's blaming the grocery stores for it, for all of our problems, because that totally makes sense. That's not like a Bolshevik thing to say at all. That's not like a ridiculous lie that a Marxist would say. And the cycle of deficit spending is only escalating. According to documents released Friday, this story I think is about 5 days old, I think. But I just didn't have time to get to it in the week. But released Friday by Canada's Department of Finance, the Trudeau government had a budgetary deficit of $25.7 billion for the April 2023 to January 2024 period of the current fiscal year. For the same period during the previous fiscal year, the Trudeau government posted a $6.4 billion deficit, about 1/4 of the more recent number. And COVID's long gone now, right? But don't forget, the only way that Trudeau can get votes is by buying them, by trying to bribe people, right? So, in listing its financial record for the April to January period, the finance department noted that revenues had increased by $10.5 billion or 3%, quote, largely reflecting higher personal income tax revenue, other taxes and duties, and other non-tax revenues. These increases were partially offset by lower corporate income tax revenues. However, program expenses were more than twice that amount, registering at $21.2 billion or 6.7%, reflecting increases across all major categories of spending. See, the thing is with far leftists like Trudeau and like his government is that the only thing they can do is just promise to spend more. That's it. Just try to bribe people. You know, don't forget, Trudeau's the guy who said the budget will balance itself. He's the guy who said that we'd have to forgive him if he doesn't think about monetary policy, and then stood there with a shit-eating grin on his face. It should be noted, because some people out there might be thinking, if you're not watching from Canada, if you're watching from somewhere else, you might be thinking to yourself, well, why the fuck did you guys vote him in 3 times? Well, I didn't, first off. But it should be noted that this is a parliamentary democracy, right? So you got multiple parties. Trudeau won a minority government in the last election. I believe it was 32% of the popular vote, 32%, which I believe was the lowest in history to win any government in Canada. And the election before that, I think it was 33%, and that was the previous lowest ever. So it's the kind of nuances of the parliamentary system that allowed him to get in. And then there's a whole story about this partnership that he's formed, this confidence agreement that he's formed with the even further crazy left party in Canada, the NDP, New Democratic Party, which basically is just keeping him in power until the next time we can actually vote him out, which is not going to be until, it looks like, October 27th now, 2025. So, and another point here, and I hope I'm not getting too esoteric here. The election is supposed to be October 20th. He pushed it back a week because on the 21st of October next year, I think 80 MPs come up for their pension. So that was a big, I'll do this for you, don't rebel against me. So he moved an election. They said it was because of like some religious holiday, something. But this was to appease a bunch of MPs that are going to lose their seats in the next election. It's going to be a historic win for the Conservatives in the next election. But he moved the election to cheat. Of course, that'll add something like the cost over its lifetime will be something like $600 million or something, or maybe it's billions. I don't even know anymore. Anyway, it's just, this is what happens. This is what happens, even with, historically low numbers, when you elect in a former drama teacher, part-time drama teacher and snowboard instructor, but has a famous last name and has fantastic hair. This is what happens. Anyway, maybe we should move on. I'm getting too upset. Maybe it's time. Well, hold on. Let's just read the rest of this here. Yeah, here. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau infamously said that the budget will balance itself in 2015. That didn't happen. Can you believe that never happened? Can you believe that the budget didn't actually magically balance itself? Can you believe that magical thinking didn't bear fruit? Incredible. And what did he think? Like the Tooth Fairy was going to do it? I don't know. Anyway, quote, I think one of the things that Canadians expect is a level of fiscal responsibility that we've been able to demonstrate in the past, and we're certainly going to demonstrate it in the future. No, you didn't. That was bullshit. No, you didn't. You made everything way, way worse. A vast majority, up to 72% of Canadians, want Trudeau to resign before the next federal election in October 2025. He's not going to do it. Some people think he is, because you have to think, when you see the polling numbers, it must be humiliating for him, right? Nobody likes them. Well, I mean, other than the TrueAnon cult members, right? And I've said it before, I'll say it again. The TrueAnon cult members, he could tell them that if they elect him for another term, he will force them to live in trees. And he'll give their houses away to, I don't know, he'll just import people from somewhere else in the world and give them their houses. They'll have to live in trees and like hunt squirrels or something to survive. And they will still vote for him. Still vote for him. Trudeau could run on eating their children and they will vote for him. Trudeau could run on flaying them alive and then throwing them into like a pit of salt. And they would still vote for him because he's not a conservative, one of those conservatives. I just don't like their policies. I don't like being flayed alive and thrown into a big pit of sand, but, you know, at least they're not going to lower corporate tax rates by 2%. I mean, I couldn't take that. That's inhuman. I don't like living in a tree. I don't like living in a tree, but at least children will still be able to get sex change operations. Yeah, I mean, Scott Adams has said famously that 25% of any population is wrong about everything all the time, no matter what it is. And Trudeau's support is like about 25% at this point. So they are the people that are wrong about, say it with me, wrong about everything all the time. And they'll continue to be wrong forever. Anyway, I hope I've made myself clear on that. Let's take a look at this little story here. This is quite interesting, isn't it? Actor Michael Rapaport signals shift on Trump after years of fervent opposition. He says, my political views have changed. Now, just as a refresher here, this guy absolutely hated Donald Trump. He called him Pig Dick Donald Trump. He just kept saying that over and over again. He was awful, absolutely awful. And to be honest, he still is kind of awful, right? But it appears he's reached that line, which sane people will eventually get to, where things are affecting them to the point where the policies that they've been voting for are affecting them to the point where they just have to embrace reality. It's where woke meets reality, and reality just has a better argument. But just to remind you, like here, actor Michael Rapaport uses Mother's Day to attack the Trump family. So when was this from? This was from 10th of May, 2020. So this guy really hated Trump. He said, happy Mother's Day. I hope you're a better mother than you are first lady. You're useless as a first lady. Literally, I mean, that's just retarded. He said, why don't you send your fucking son, Dick Stain, Donald Trump Jr., big-toothed Eric Trump, little effing Barron, like attacking the kids, effing Ivanka, junkyard Jared, let them go out there and test the waters. That's when Trump was talking about, not wanting to shut down the country, which it turns out he was completely right about back in 2020. Here's another one. Michael Rapaport, end quarantine on, so this is the same one. He says, effing pig, the real people want to get back to work ASAP. You never worked a day in your life. You're worried about the next 4 years. MFer, blah, blah, blah. Just totally unhinged and crazy, right? So he absolutely hated Trump. But something has changed. And the thing that's changed is, I think, that he's realized the people on the left don't like him. They don't like him, and they don't like him for a very specific reason.
My political views have changed immensely. I will not vote for Joe Biden. At this point, when we're doing this interview, voting for Trump is on the table. People are like, what are you talking about? That's my reality. I will not support anybody who's anti-Israel. I will not support anybody that is anti-making America safe, that is cool with the fact that I got to show my ID at least 3 or 4 times at the airport, but it takes you 2 minutes to cross the border. I'm not down with that shit. I'm not down with police officers in the greatest city on earth getting beaten up. You're a legal immigrant, and then you have no bail. I'm not...
And flipping off the camera.
Flipping off the fucking camera. I'm not down with going into a Costco or a 7-Eleven, cleaning out the spot. So any of these people that support it, I'm not voting for them. I'm not getting caught up or suckered into these race politics or any of that bullshit anymore. My political views have changed.
So, anti-Israel stuff, which is, a lot of the Democrats have allied themselves with people who more than just don't like Israel, right? How should we put this? They don't like Israel, but they even more than that don't like Israel or the people that are in Israel. Crime. He lives in New York City. He's seeing it, right? He talks about, the illegal immigrants that beat up the cops and were out on bail the next day. And then illegal immigration in general. Resources going to people that he doesn't feel that they should go to because they're not citizens, because they're in the country illegally. So these are his lines. These are the lines. This was his line where he went, hold on a second. I'm seeing like a lot of genocidal hatred. And it's coming from institutions like leftist institutions like Harvard and Yale. And there's like a lot of kind of extremely more than just anti-Israel demonstrations going on. And like in Canada, like when they show up to protest like a Jewish hospital or like a Jewish bakery and are asked the people there, what the fuck have they got to do with Israel? They're in Canada. It's a little bit more than that, I think you have to say at this point. I don't know why. And I think a lot of people, Jewish people, are waking up to that, frankly. And I don't know why they didn't wake up to it sooner. Maybe it's just because leftism has always been so fashionable. This leftist bubble. But I think a lot of them are waking up now to, the people they thought were their friends are not their friends. And they're certainly allying themselves with people who are definitely not their friends. Again, you're just a guy who owns a fucking bakery. What have you got to do with it? Well, they think you've got something to do with it. So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Again, I don't think that Michael Rapaport has become much better of a person. I think he's still awful. But I'm just saying he's at least woken up to reality, and realized, the people that he thought were his friends are not his friends, and they don't give a shit. Certainly the Democrats don't give a shit. They're definitely not his friends. And he's waking up. How many people will wake up? I don't know. Judging by the polls in the states, the presidential presidential race polls, seems like, Trump's in the lead, including in the swing states. So seems like a lot of people are waking up. But I think we'll leave that story there. Let's move on to this. So the U.S. military in 2024. What do you guys think of this? So this is the new soldier in Biden's army. All right. This is the new soldier in Biden's army. I wonder if you guys have any thoughts on this. I bet that you do. I'm willing to bet that you have some ideas about this. I want you to tell me. This is your place to air it out. If you've been waiting to be heard, this is your time right now. This is the place. Invin, what do you think? Antipop, what do you think? God's Tomahawk, what do you think? I'll tell you what I think. This person is not going to be on the front lines, right? This person is going to be far, far from the front lines. But you have to wonder, how does knowing this is what's behind you, if you're on the front lines, if you're, if you're in combat and you know that this is the organization that's behind you, like whether it's logistics or whatever, this is what's behind you. How does that inspire confidence and motivate troops that are going to actually have to fight when they know that this is what's behind them? This is what they're relying on. How does that inspire confidence? Or just make you want to just believe in what you're doing in the first place? I have to think that it doesn't. See, I wouldn't trust this person. I wouldn't trust this person to survive a hailstorm without breaking into tears. Would you? Would you? I mean, is this somebody who's going to handle stress well? I'm feeling probably not. I mean, I don't know this person. I'm not a mind reader or anything like that. But it just seems like our intuition is very fine-tuned towards this sort of thing. And it feels to me this might be somebody who doesn't deal with extreme stress very well. And if you have an important job, say it's in logistics. Logistics is extremely important. You can't fuck that up. Would you trust this person? This looks like somebody who would just spend the entire time in a fetal position crying, to me. Like it almost seems designed, like if you wanted to just demoralize a fighting force, demoralize a military, this is what you would do. You would have these people in there. Wouldn't you? I mean, why wouldn't you? Right? Like if that was your plan, if you're thinking, well, I want to fuck up this military, what should we do? I want to demoralize it. What should we do? Right? This is what you would do. This is what you would do. Antipop says, bridges, look out, wheels falling off planes, doors coming off mid-flight. Yeah, the whole DEI thing is it doesn't seem to be working out terribly well. This whole relegating merit to, second place is or third place or fourth place or fifth place doesn't seem like it's working out totally well. Feels like it might be feels like we might be getting some red flags and warning signs on that, aren't we? I wonder what Twitter had to say about this. Sorry, X, formerly Twitter. I wonder what they had to say. Let's see. What do we got here? Putin will be extremely worried. There's Putin laughing. A tub of lard with rainbow flags. That'll scare the Russians off. Yeah. It's not intimidating, is it? It feels like dysfunction. It feels like woke dysfunction. The dysfunction that the woke bring into everything because, they're not concerned about things like merit, or just will it work? Will whatever we're working on right now actually work? That's always a secondary consideration. The first consideration is, well, who's this? What's this person's identity? Do we have enough of this identity or that identity? That's the first consideration. And when that's your first consideration, you're going to fuck shit up. It's not that there's not capable people from whatever background. It's just that you have to look at, like, what's the talent pool? What's the talent pool made up of? Right? And you just simply have to take the best from the talent pool, and however that works itself out, that's how it works out. If you want success, if you don't want dysfunction, woke dysfunction, this just screams to me woke dysfunction. All right, let's move on. So, Washington Post reporter Taylor Lorenz dances wearing a medical mask at the Pornhub Awards. You might remember Taylor Lorenz from the Washington Post. I think she doxed libs of TikTok, and she's just a general lunatic journalist. The controversial reporter wore a total of 2 masks while attending the ceremony. This is the Pornhub Awards. Man, the Washington Post has really come down in the world, hasn't it? She has double masked for 4 years, despite the pandemic being long over. These are the people that we're supposed to trust to inform us about the world. The people that are still double masking after 4 years and go to dance at the Pornhub Awards. So, yeah, first off, Pornhub Awards? Really? Really? Washington Post reporter, Pornhub Awards. I mean, I guess this is what you just expect from a mainstream journalist these days, right? And I think that this kind of answers a question that I've had about mainstream media journalists, and that is that are they actually cult members? Are they the actual cult members that they appear to be, or do they just pretend to be that just for a paycheck? You know, I think in this case, we can say at this point, I mean, look, she's 4 years later, she's dancing with 2 masks on. Okay. I think at this point, we can say she is an actual cult member. She actually is a crazy person. She actually is a woke lunatic. I don't think she's pretending. I think this is who she really is, dancing with 2 masks on at the Pornhub Awards. I mean, what do you even say? I mean, nothing else explains this. She's in a cult. Nothing else can explain this behavior. So I'm willing to say at this point, I think a lot of the journalists are actually woke cultists. They're actually narrative cultists. You know, that crazy person standing in the middle of a field by themselves with 4 masks on, that's a mainstream media journalist right there. For sure. Just assume that crazy person standing in the middle of a field by themselves with 4 masks on, just assume it's a mainstream media journalist. Assume they're from the New York Times. It's really the safest thing you can do. That person, when you look over and you see that person driving alone, 4 years on, driving alone in their car with a mask on, with 6 masks on, say, mainstream media journalist, Washington Post, New York Times. Maybe it's somebody who works at MSNBC. Just go. It's the safest thing to assume. It's the most likely thing. Occam's razor, right? Probably that is almost certainly a mainstream media journalist. Antipop says award for best concealment of canker sores. It's been a while since I heard the word canker sores. Actually, those are terrible. Those are terrible. But if this is the standard, I think it is the standard now. We are right to not believe a word that these people tell us, that Taylor Lorenz tells us, or anybody who works where she works, or any of their competitors. We are right to not believe a word they say. They have earned that. They've earned total distrust from us. I mean, it's 4 years on, and she's out dancing at porn awards with 2 masks on. I mean, well, it's porn awards, so okay, maybe she's trying to not get some sort of STD or something. I don't know. But we saw with that interview she did with Libs of TikTok that she was wearing a mask then. So she's doing this all the time. Maybe this is actually the only appropriate time that she's worn a mask in the last 4 years. I don't know. But I'll bet you that the internet has something to say about it. And I hope it's kind. I'm thinking her front teeth are missing. Maybe that explains it. Let's see. To be fair, I'd wear a mask there also, and gloves, and a radiation suit. SCBA gear, maybe carry tongs. Yeah, I mean, that is a good point. Let's see. It's about control. Taylor Lorenz feels out of control in her own life, so wearing a mask gives her some sense of steadiness. She's clearly got issues, like being at a Pornhub Awards show. Is she wearing rubber gloves too? She's not. She's not. So I don't think she's wearing the mask because she's at the Pornhub Awards. If she were, she'd be wearing rubber gloves too. I think she just wears it all. Well, she clearly does just wear it all the time. Let's see. What else we got? Was Taylor Lorenz nominated in some category? I don't know. If there's a video with a girl in wearing two face masks, I guess odds are that that's her. Let's see. COVID, the least toxic thing she got to worry about catching at the Pornhub Awards. I think that's probably true. All right, let's keep moving. This is one of those ones that just kind of makes you angry, but we have to watch it. I'm sorry to do this to you, but I think we need to watch this to honor our ancestors. So, pretentious liberal is shocked to find out that nice people can be conservatives. Uh-oh. So, this is a woman, a liberal, pretentious liberal woman who moved to Florida. And boy, she doesn't approve of a lot. Let's take a look.
Moved to Florida. Things have been going great. Love the weather. St. Petersburg is beautiful. I'm obsessed. However, it has been hard to make friends, which is natural as an adult. It's really difficult. I work from home. I live alone. I live in a house even. There's just like no way to meet people. So I downloaded the Meetup app and I went to a Meetup event, met a lot of cool people, exchanged numbers, got this one from a girl, super cute, fun. And she invited me, and this is, let me just make this clear. She invited me to a UFC fight, to watch a UFC fight at a sports bar.
Are you getting annoyed yet? Because it gets worse.
You don't you don't need to know much about me to know that's not really my scene. No, it's not. But are we desperate? Yes. I'd start thinking, you know what? Hemingway liked to fight. Maybe some of these people are also really into classic literature.
Just shut the fuck up already. Yes, we get it. You're pretentious. We get it. Oh, you like classic literature. That's why you're telling us that, so that we know that. Shut the fuck up.
That was really sweet of me. That was really sweet of me to think. But basically it looked like a frat party. Duh. Which is, again, fine. I'm there to chat with the girlies. Conversations were leaning conservative about vaccines, and then, Donald Trump shows up on the TV, like he goes to the UFC fight, and the entire sports bar erupts into chanting USA. USA, USA.
You might be wondering, why did you move to Florida? Why did you leave, I don't know, New York or LA or wherever it was you were before? Why did you go to Florida? I mean, this is somebody who is absolutely shocked by hearing USA, USA. Good Lord. I mean, it's offensive, right? It's offensive. People who actually like their country. Let's continue.
First of all, am now floating above my body, watching from above, going, how did this happen? Trying to stay calm, trying to act normal. The sweet girl next to me goes, what can I say? I love the guy.
She's shocked that somebody likes the politician that this woman, this pretentious leftist, has been brainwashed to dislike. Probably doesn't know one factual thing about Trump. Probably doesn't know one thing that's real, right? And she's shocked. She's just, where the fuck did she think she was going? Okay.
I called an Uber almost immediately. I almost started crying in the bar.
Almost started crying in the bar. And just admits it. This is as if this is somehow endearing for. Why doesn't she just say, I'm pathetic? I'm pathetic. I was in this bar and there was nice people around me, and it turns out I'm really pathetic. I'm an awful loser. I'm an awful pretentious loser, it turns out. Apparently she. Well, let's continue.
Right in an Uber, and I scurried away. So basically, things are going well.
So she had to flee because people disagree with her about politics, because she's been brainwashed. Let's see. J-Ham, how you doing? Good to see you in the chat. She'll still be telling this story to her cats 30 years from now. She will be. And the cats will be really sick of it too. The cats will probably throw themselves out the windows, you know? If it's 30 floors up, they'll be just constantly waiting for that window to open so they can try and leap out and just end it all. You know, because I'm not sure even cats like to live in an apartment that stinks of cat piss. I'm not sure. Antipop says, I would love to manipulate the convo to Homer's Iliad with her. Here's the thing about that. She'll know the name, but she will never have actually read it. She won't actually know anything about it. Right? That's the thing. Because these pretentious leftists, it's surface level on it. Everything is surface level, right? That would confuse her. And she would probably run out still. She would probably still, that would make her run out to the Uber even faster, I think. So this must be very painful for sane Floridians to see, because she is 100% dedicated to ruining Florida. She will vote for the furthest left lunatic that she can find at just every level of government. She will dedicate herself now to wrecking the state that she just moved to turning it into the hellhole, the far left hellhole that she doubtlessly moved there from, right? Guaranteed. Cult member, delusional. She flees a bar full of nice people because they like Donald Trump. That doesn't sound like a very good person to me. That sounds like a bad person. I don't think anybody was going to kick her out of the bar for disagreeing with their politics. That's the main difference, isn't it? Between sane people and cult members. Because we really are at that point. It's not even left and right anymore, is it? It's sane versus retard. It's sane versus far left delusional retards. Right? It's sane versus Marxist lunatics, woke Marxist lunatics. That's really what it comes down to. It's sane versus sex changes for children. It's sane versus open borders. Anybody can come in, right? It's sane versus we don't need to put criminals in prison. We don't need to protect society from criminals. It's sane versus illegal immigrants attack cops and get out without bail the next day. Right? It's sane versus crazy. I mean, I'm sure she'll find some other cult members in Florida. I mean, obviously, there's still lots of millions of people that are delusional there, obviously. But it's just a shame. It seems so wasteful. You know, it seems like such a waste to have this opportunity, and then just kind of to be at least a decent human, or at least vote sanely, and still not. I mean, if she loves Florida, I mean, why does she love it so much there? Is it just the weather? You know, she obviously likes what's going on there. She likes what they're doing. She likes what DeSantis is doing. But it's so unfashionable. You know, so unfashionable. All my Facebook friends don't like him. They don't like conservatives. They don't like Trump. They don't really know why, but why isn't important? What's important is that they don't like him, that we all don't like him together. And that if anybody asks any questions about it, they immediately be denounced, and we'll put them through a struggle session. I think that, like, sane places should have like a giant cannon that's capable of shooting people into the sun, right? And what they should do is they should tell people like this, that Oprah is the president of the sun, and then shoot them into it. They will go willingly. Tell them that Michelle Obama is VP of the sun. They will go willingly. They will jump right into the cannon, and you just merely have to, from that point, shoot them into the sun. That's it. It's easy. Everybody wins. I wonder if the internet has anything to say about this. Wow, the condescension just drips off that girl. She's in for a lifetime of underestimating her rivals. Yeah. So pompous. I mean, it truly is pathetic. Scurried away is an accurate description. Yeah. I would say so too. Maybe she has a line where she just, although the problem is, unless she stayed in whatever hellhole she was in before, she won't find her line, right? You kind of need to be in the middle of it to find your line, right? You need to be in the bad situation to figure out when it's too much for you. So she can move to Florida and now just continue her delusions. Because and then benefit off the sanity of other people. Petulance identifying as pretentious. Is petulant. The odd thing is she figured out who is actually inclusive and who just pretends to be because it makes them look like good people. She's the one who scurried away like an iguana when nothing had happened to her at all. What did she think Florida was like anyway? And that's a great point. I mean, nothing happened to her. She was just exposed to people with different ideas. That's it. It's pathetic. And I guarantee you that level of that weird level of entitlement carries into everything. She's probably an awful employee. She's probably a terrible friend. I mean, wife? Yikes. No, I think that her husband is probably going to be those 30 cats that J-Ham mentioned. All right. Definition of a snowflake. This should have been titled, Why I Don't Have Friends. I think that might have been the best one so far. Wow, I'm so sorry this happened to her. All right. Let's see. All right, let's keep going. What is that clip from? That's from Spaceballs. Classic movie. Classic movie. All right, let's keep going. Anyway, she was awful, right? She's absolutely awful. I'm glad that we all agree on that. Let's see. Manhattan, far left extremists chant for the downfall of the United States at a pro-Palestine protest. Here we take a look at this. I want to know what you guys think about this.
Down with the USA! Down with the USA! Down with the USA! Down with the USA! Netanyahu, you will pay! Netanyahu, you will pay! Nakasama on their way! Down with the USA! Down with the USA!
So I'm obviously free speech, right? I just wonder, what do you do about, I want to know what you guys think. Like, what do you do about this? You know, I mean, ultimately it comes down to, you have to reform the universities, the colleges, in fact, all the way down to kindergarten at this point, because they are pushing far left identity politics, identity Marxism, all the way down to kindergarten at this point, right? It's really a generational problem. And it's not a small problem. It's not just little groups. Like, this is all over North America, not only North America, the UK as well. I mean, it is a problem that there is like a lot of actual like communists who want to destroy their own countries now. And it's not surprising considering what's been happening in the education systems all the way from kindergarten up to university. But it's a problem. Like, this is a problem for Western civilization. Like, it's a serious problem at this point. I mean, look, every institution is some variant of this. Like, every institution would sympathize with some version of this. Not just in the US, in Canada as well, in the UK as well. Every institution. You know, according to apparently every institution, including our present government, you know, Canada is just constantly guilty, perpetually guilty of, 18 different genocides at any given time, right? It's that crazy at this point. And I know it's the same in the States. So what I think probably the answer is that there is no short-term solution. It really is that there needs to be like a reformation, right? A reformation in the educational system, for sure. And the sooner that the mainstream media dies, the better. You know, the sooner that the quicker that they can lose influence, the better. Because you have a confluence between far left politicians, far left media, and every institution. And that it's extremely dangerous. That's got to be turned around. You know, maybe it's just a matter of enough people finding that line where it affects them personally. But anyway, I think it's fucked up and it's not healthy. So what do we have here? Well, finally, we've got some art here. The anguish of climate change is... So this is Dr. Jebra Fauci, which is a parody account, and she posts lots of these crazy people. The anguish of climate change is best conveyed through movement, such as this interpretive dance. I believe the subtext here is that the heating earth is the fault of the patriarchy. You know what's coming. You know what's coming. Let's take a look. Yeah. What the fuck, right? What the fuck? Oh, J-Ham says, we got to go back 1 second. We got to go back to the last one. Here's this woman who was, who had to run away from the bar because they chanted USA. J-Ham says that St. Pete chick left the bar when they chanted USA, USA, would have felt at home hearing down with the USA. Absolutely. She's probably been to protests. Absolutely. 100%. because she's retarded. But back to this. The anguish of climate change is best conveyed through movements such as this interpretive dance. I believe the subtext here is that the heating earth is the fault of the patriarchy. Let's watch it one more time. Let's take a look. So, again, just a simple what the fuck. What the fuck? I'm so used to saying what the fuck now. It's coming quite naturally. Just what the fuck? You might be wondering what that was. I guess some sort of climate dance, global warming dance. It's kind of like I'd say it's kind of like Swan Lake, but with more like cross-sex hormones and mental illness, obviously. And no skill or talent, obviously. I guess this is what happens when the bar for what passes as art is so degraded that we can't tell if it's just a mental breakdown happening. Was that art or just a mental breakdown happening in real time there? Just in front of a bunch of strangers? I don't know. It looks like a mental breakdown. Look at all those people they're watching. What are they thinking? Are they thinking... Because again, you can't tell what's art and what's not anymore. I mean, again, the bar for that is so degraded. It's just they're into nonsense, garbage. A heap of garbage in modern art is just indistinguishable. It could be that heap of garbage. If it's in an art museum, that's art now. So how you can't tell? Can these people tell? Does somebody think to themselves like, "My God, somebody help that poor man"? No. It's just art. And don't assume there's a gender either, please. It's offensive. I think it's a sign of a decaying civilization myself. I don't think any of the people watching that are actually enjoying it. I think they just are there to feel cool, I guess, to feel fashionable. But I don't know. All I can say is if you think this is annoying for you, just think about what he puts his neighbors through. The world's fine. Shut the fuck up. God damn it. Truly hell. Truly hell. How are those people in the audience even there? What are they doing there? Why are they pretending that this is good or makes sense or it's useful in any way? You know, the only way this makes sense is if that audience is all psychiatrists and they're just studying this guy because he's just like a fascinating case, you know, and they're going to, write, essays about it or something, or maybe a book. I don't know. Maybe there was just free coffee. Things are expensive these days. People will show up for a free coffee. What's going on in the chat? Let's see. Antipop says, fat women now. Antipop. Lizzo at that fundraiser for old Joe. All right. Let's do it. Let's get into a different Twitter here. And let's look for Lizzo. She's fat. She won't disappoint us. Let's see what we can. The internet into fat shame. The internet after fat shaming Lizzo into quitting. So there's got to be something here of Lizzo being fat. But we need her moving. We want her dancing. Let's see. This video. Man, she really is fat. She loves to eat. I love to eat too, but I'm not that fat. Really fat. Somebody should tell her. Let's see. Well, here is inside the Lizzo quits after Biden fundraiser. What does that mean? Let's watch this real quick.
Lizzo, who I know is your favorite artist, has quit. This is just breaking across the wires.
And let me just say, it's fantastic that I take requests, right? It's fantastic. This is way better than your typical live stream where they don't pay attention to you. I actually will take requests if they're worthy, and I think this one is worthy.
She's saying she's never performing again after doing this event last night. What happened?
Well, no one knows what happened behind closed doors when she was hanging out with Bill Clinton and Joe Biden. But all I can say is that this is the greatest loss for the music industry. I mean, this is worse than the Beatles retiring. This is worse than
So she's saying that she's never going to perform again. Why? That's the question. Why? And I guess we don't know. But I'm going to guess that it has something to do with food. I'm just going out on a limb there. Maybe she had some like writer in her contract to do it where it was like a certain amount of, donuts or something. Like it was like 60 donuts and there's only like 48 or something. I don't know. But I'm going to guess it has something to do with food. But I think I know what you guys all want. I think I know what you guys want. And we got to find a video of her dancing so that I can deliver that to you. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Need something more close up. Jesus, look at that. That is fucking terrifying. That is what hamburgers have nightmares about. Let's see. Look at her. Yeah, look at her staring lovingly at that cheeseburger. U.S. Ministry of Truth breaking. Lizzo quits music industry after learning she couldn't schedule concerts at Golden Corral. Let's see. What's going on here? Nothing there. Where's that video of her dancing? And it looks like she's being viewed by like a burrito through like the glass of like a microwave oven. Let's see. Let's keep going. It's going to be worth it if we find it. Man, oh man. Let's see. Where, oh, where? Is this Lizzo here? Lizzo trying to pursue a dancing career after quitting music. Maybe this will do. Hold on a second. Let's just watch this for just a moment. I've got to get the timing just right. It's coming. I know what you guys are waiting for, and it's coming. Okay, got to get the timing perfect here. Okay. Okay, we're almost there. Okay, I think I'm just about ready to go. Why does that never get old? Why does that never get old? It's always just as good. I want to get one with Lizzo, though. Let's see. Look at my God. Look at the armpit fat. Good Lord. You could make like an Ariana Grande just out of the armpit fat. Wow. Here we go. All right, let's check this one out. I'm not going to play the music because I'll get copyrighted. Oh, shoot. I got to turn the volume off. Okay, let's take a look. I want to wait and see if she turns around because that would be the perfect time. Okay, I didn't see that coming, but that's really good. All right. I just want to get this over with. So here we go. This will be the last time. It's still not perfect, though. That wasn't perfect. Oh, Jesus Christ, look at that. Lizzo will be missed. I don't think that's actually Lizzo, though. But yeah, it's nightmare material. Let's see. I really want to find that video where she's doing like the gross dance, and that was really the perfect one. Oh, what's this one here? Just like a music video? Oh, okay. Well, let's see if we can time something perfectly for this one. This might be the one. It should get out of the car. That would be the perfect time. Here we go. Think it's coming? Oh. Well, let's just go like this. It still works. It still works. All right, that's enough of that. Hopefully we've got some more of those coming. Let's see. Get to the chat here. Oh, here we go. The Antipop at $10 to Lizzo. Very well. Thank you very much, sir. I've made no secret of the fact that I love money. So that's awesome. Let's see. J-Ham says, Lizzo, the sun called. It wants its gravity back. It's probably, sun is, I think, probably less sweaty as well. But let's see what people had to say about this. Did we check out the comments on the climate dancing guy? Let's see. The people who bought tickets to see this need to be taxed more. If anybody deserves to be taxed more, it's them. He's recalling the time Starbucks got his order wrong. Let's see, what else we got here? Couldn't help but notice these highly cultured and noticeably nonplussed patrons of the arts. Again, maybe there was just free coffee. But then again, there are pretentious people do like to pretend that things that are garbage are, and literal garbage as well, are art. I think that man finally got his period. That's a good one. Wow, now giving drug addicts a stage. Very weird. Let's see. I thought he was upset from failing to chest feed. Dear, that's a tragedy. That's tragic. All right, let's move on. What do we got next? So, James Wood says this. He says, this is such astonishing bullshit. It's impossible to imagine how this charlatan does it with a straight face. Let's hear what this charlatan, Chuck Schumer, has to say.
Now more than ever, we're short of workers. We have a population that is not reproducing it on its own with the same level that it used to. The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here. Now more than ever.
Why not 100 million? Why not 200 million? Why not just everybody in the world? I mean, it is really astonishing bullshit, isn't it? Let's see. Rob Schneider says, Democrats' goals are, 1, flood Republican states with forever Dem welfare voters. 2, bring in low-paid, cheap labor to undercut American workers. To finish destroying the middle class. 3, Recruit these new immigrants to make an army that is loyal to Dems. 4, disarm Americans. So, yeah, I can't really see anything to disagree with there. I don't know if you guys can. But I want to know what you guys think on this. I mean, okay, flood Republican states with forever damn welfare voters. Feels like that's what Trudeau's trying to do in Canada. Fill the country with people that will be forever devoted to either him or the Liberal Party. Bring in low-paid, cheap labor. Well, Trudeau brought in 700,000 temporary foreign workers last year to Canada. So, like, my point is that this all seems to be coordinated, like, amongst the leaders of these countries. Even the UK, which has had a conservative government for like 14 years, is doing the same shit. And the Conservative Party in the UK is going to be destroyed in the next election, by the way, because they betrayed their voters so badly. Something I worry about in Canada. You know, I mean, Pierre's talking a great game so far. Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, he's talking a great game so far. I like 95% of what he says. I wish he'd be a little bit more forthright on the immigration thing, but I like what he said about it so far. But the worry is that, I mean, we've seen what happened in England. We've seen what happened there. So my worry is that we could see the same thing in Canada, that we just end up getting a Trudeau light, or just Trudeau, you know, dressed as a conservative. But I'm not black-pilled. I don't think that's going to happen. But I guess my point again is that it seems to be coordinated amongst countries. You know, the people literally don't matter to these leaders. They've all just got an agreement. They're going to do the same shit. JM says, Schneider has it right. This is so frustrating and dangerous. It's not going to end well for either side. Well, what's happening is they're attempting to, what it appears to me, is to create generational problems. Like Trudeau's trying to, I mean, 1 million people in the last 9 months. He's accelerated immigration, which is now become very unpopular in Canada. Illegal immigration in the States is now very unpopular. People want border security there. Biden is accelerating it. Same thing has happened in the UK. It feels like they're just trying to jam in as many as possible before the next elections. I mean, in England, I mean, I don't. Labor wins, they're gonna do the exact same thing. So they're kind of in a no-win situation there. But it certainly feels like they're just trying to overwhelm, to create a generational problem that you can't just fix in 4 years. You know, the problems that have been created by Trudeau and Biden in Canada and the United States, these are now generational problems. They're not problems that can be fixed in one term. Not even close. I'm not saying you can't do anything good, or you can't start on the road to healing. But yeah, it's again, they're trying to break it as much as possible while they can. Let's see. Recruit these new immigrants to make an army that is loyal to Dems, which is a kind of very frightening, isn't it? Disarm Americans. Well, Trudeau, I mean, Canadians were already disarmed to a large extent, but he's really going for it in Canada. You know, going after like hunting rifles. You know, they say, oh, they're not doing that, but clearly the legislation is. So it's terrifying. I mean, it just seems like a total betrayal of the United States. Certainly in Canada, it seems like a total betrayal of Canadians. In the UK, as I've said, it looks like just an absolute betrayal of the British. And it all seems coordinated, and they all seem to love that WEF thing quite a bit, don't they? Big fans of that. Yeah, it doesn't feel like they're just acting on their own, is what I'm saying. What did Klaus Schwab say? He said he'd penetrated the Trudeau's cabinet 50%. He's a creepy fucker, isn't he? All right, anyway, let's move on. All right, we're an hour and 25 in. Let's see. Confirmed. Trump paid off NYPD officer Diller's mortgage for his wife. Donald Trump gave a generous donation to Tunnels to Towers, who turned right around and notified Officer Diller's wife that they were paying off her mortgage. What a very nice thing for Trump to do. Yeah, let's take a look.
Funeral home right now. He's going to come out with a press gaggle and make some remarks apparently in a little while. But the story here is that, Trump gave a donation to Tunnel to Towers. Believe he paid off the mortgage for this family through Tunnels to Towers, and had a phone call with the family. But the Sergeants Benevolent Association in New York City is telling New York City council members funeral home right now. He's going to come out with a press gaggle and make some reports.
So meanwhile, Biden was at a fundraiser with celebrities, with Obama and Clinton and Lizzo and a bunch of other celebrities. They're bragging about how they raised $25 million in one night. So, yeah, I guess different priorities, right? Let's see. Here's another one from New York. A Latina woman who had her jaw broken and teeth knocked out in a random attack in front of a popular Black Lives Matter mural in Brooklyn. The suspect was arrested, charged with a misdemeanor, and quickly released without bail per New York law. Look at her face. Jesus.
It is a random, unprovoked, vicious attack on a 57-year-old woman in Brooklyn. Watch as the suspect ignores another man walking nearby, then punches the woman in her face, causing her to stumble backwards.
What happened? Why you hitting me? Why you hitting me? I was bleeding a lot. I'm so scared. I'm so afraid.
Dulce Pichardo was on the receiving end of that punch. Her mouth now wired shut, her face fractured in several places, drinking food out of a straw for 6 weeks, permanent damage to her lower lip, 3 teeth knocked out, and she might need surgery. In this Eyewitness News exclusive, Pichardo says he didn't say a word, just stared at her, then broke her jaw.
He hit me very, very strong over here. And he broke everything here. Everything's break.
It happened yesterday around 5 p.m. on Grand Avenue near Dean Street. Pichardo was a school bus aide and was returning from work, just steps away from home, when she was slugged. Her brother owns a restaurant across the street from where she lives. He and this employee chased the suspect down. Johan Flores says he was still standing there. When they confronted him, he denied attacking Pichardo, cold and emotionless. They followed him for several blocks and stopped him from fleeing until police arrived. Cops arrested 33-year-old Franz Judy. The suspect was charged with misdemeanor assault, meaning he's not bail eligible. He'll be released back onto the street. And that's the part that has the victim and her family frustrated and afraid.
Every time I see one man, I close. I don't want to be close to nobody. I'm very afraid, yes. I tell my son everywhere I go, I want you to walk with me.
He's being charged with assault 3, not with a felony, because there's no intent. So therefore, he's being just charged with that. He has 7 prior arrests for assault charges, and he's out in the street.
In Crown Heights, Brooklyn, Stefan Kim, Channel 7.
So, yeah, I mean, we're just talking about how it's not left versus right anymore. It's sane versus insane now. Antipop says new orc seems nice. Yeah. But again, it's not left versus right anymore. It's sane versus insanity. Right? It's sanity versus civilizational collapse. And I'm not being hyperbolic there. It is literally come down to that at this point. You know, people vote to get punched in the face or to get pushed in front of a subway car, you know, or to or to come home from a vacation and there's squatters living in their house and there's absolutely nothing they can do about it. And if they try and change the locks, the police will arrest them. Or if you try and restrain somebody on a subway car who's threatening to kill the other people, threatening to kill women on that car, and something happens to the guy that you're restraining, you're going to get charged. You're going to go to prison. That's what these people all voted for. You know, like by the last election, I mean, I'm talking all the way up and down the ballots in New York through every position. Like it was clear by that point. It's not like they hadn't been talking about, you know, defunding the police. You know, I mean, it's not like the people had no idea what they were voting for. You know, they'd had riots everywhere, and they'd had their own politicians supporting it. In fact, encouraging it, raising bail funds. You know, AOC was like trying to raise bail funds to get criminals out of prison, people who had looted and like burnt down buildings, set buildings on fire. You know, thrown Molotov cocktails at cop cars. They knew what they were voting for. At that point, you can't say you didn't know what you were doing. You didn't know what you were going to get. They voted to get punched in the face. I'm not saying that woman did. But the people of New York collectively voted to get punched in the face. They voted to get pushed in front of a subway car. They voted to get their business looted. They voted for squatters' rights. They voted for no bail for violent criminals. That's what they voted for. They knew what they were doing, and they did it. So it's kind of hard at some point. I feel sorry for that woman. I don't know what she voted for, whether she didn't vote. But if you're there, if you're in a place like that, and you know what it is, I mean, I don't know. At some point, you're crazy to stay. Unless you want to live in that. Unless you want to live in insane, woke dysfunction. Antipop says, meet the National Guard. That's right. So they create these huge problems, right? And their solution is just to have like the National Guard go in and check people's bags as they go in. And then still people are being thrown in front of the cars. Crazy. Crazy. Didn't used to need the National Guard on the streets, if I remember correctly. You know, but that was back when they had a Republican mayor, wasn't it? I think that was when they had a Republican mayor, right? Jayham says, for them, equality means everyone must get punched in the face. Everyone must get punched equally. That's fair. That's equity. Yeah, it's crazy. Let's see. Well, this is interesting. Exclusive. A source inside Fidelity sent us images of mandatory training for employees. According to Fidelity, dead naming, which is just totally stupid. Like these terms they come up with are just, they're kind of meaningless, or using the wrong pronoun. So dead naming or using the wrong pronoun is considered sexual harassment. Okay, so redefining everything. This is what they love to do, redefine everything, to try and force people to obey their bizarre ideology. They also deny reality by claiming that men can get pregnant and that those who transition are now living as their true gender. Yet another company has fallen victim to the woke mind virus and is pushing it into the workplace. So, what do you want to bet that this is going to be completely incoherent? Let's see. Microaggressions, which aren't real, by the way. They're the aggressions they're micro. They're so small, you wouldn't even know they were there unless a lunatic told you. Microaggressions, such as purposely calling someone by their dead name or repeatedly failing to use their preferred pronouns, may be sexual harassment. Well, actually, it's not, unless you come up with this completely incoherent redefinition of the term, which, of course, they're more than willing to do. I guess to try and confuse and also intimidate people. 1 second. All right, sorry, I got some allergies going on, so I got to turn off the mic occasionally so I can cough. So anyway, this is it's just gibberish. Verbal harassment. Examples of verbal sexual harassment may include sexual jokes, lewd comments, sexual anecdotes and innuendo, demands or threats, incorrect pronouns. Incorrect pronouns. So you just get somebody's, I mean, keep in mind, they may change their pronouns every day, right? Because they're fluid or something. So it can be pretty hard to remember all of those pronouns. But doing that might get you charged with. So if you get somebody's pronouns wrong and then you get charged by the company with, they put that on your record and they fire you because they say that that you did a sexual harassment. I mean, just think about that, how crazy that is. What a means of control to have over people, to force them to obey your batshit crazy gender ideology. All right, let's keep going. Well, I guess this is a little play here. This is a little scenario that's, I guess, is to inform you and educate you. Did you hear? Garrett is pregnant. We're planning the most extra office baby shower. Humberto. Wait, extended pause as he's processing this information. Don't you mean their wife is pregnant? Nora says, please tell me you're joking, Berto. You were part of the company meeting. You know Garrett is a trans man. They and their partner have been trying to get pregnant for over 3 years. It finally happened. Garrett is due with twins in December. See, I would say, wow, it's a miracle that Garrett wasn't sterilized by all of the cross-sex drugs they've been taking. They don't mention that in here, though. Humberto, I guess I didn't realize they could still have a baby. Slight affectation when saying the pronouns as if it takes some effort to make sure it's correct. I remember when they told me their pronouns were they, them, theirs. It's kind of hard to remember that to begin with. Well, especially because it's kind of confusing because they're saying they're a man, but their pronouns aren't like he, him, which would be more natural, even though your brain would say, that's obviously not a fucking man. But at least that's a little bit easier. So now you have to remember to not say that. And then you have to use they, them, theirs. In real life, it would probably be something way more ridiculous than that even. When I talk to Garrett, I'm always afraid I'm going to say the wrong thing and hurt his, their. See what I mean? Feelings or worse, get in serious trouble. Yeah, apparently at this company, that's a pretty rational fear. You make the effort, Humberto. That's what's important to them. Is it though? Is that what's important? Is the effort really important? Or maybe they're looking for you to make a mistake so they can complain. Maybe they can go on stress leave or something then. Paid stress leave for 10 years. Transition. Transition is a process that some transgender people undergo when they decide to live as the gender with which they identify rather than the one associated with the sex they were assigned at birth. So wait a second. Hold on a second. This is starting to get a little bit incoherent here, isn't it? The sex they were assigned at birth. I thought it was gender they were assigned. The sex, obviously this is all retarded. Like, they know what sex you are. They're not assigning you a sex. They just look, we are a sexually reproducing species. Sexually dimorphous. Male, female, that's all there is, right? They're not assigning anything. They're just saying, yeah, that's a boy, that's a girl. Obviously, anything that you think beyond that is just you being a giant fucking retard. And brainwashed, maybe. A transgender person transitioning is not becoming a man or a woman. They are starting to live openly as their true gender. So now it's back to gender again. Well, I thought that they were assigned the wrong sex. They were actually the other sex. Now they're saying their true gender. This is confusing, isn't it? Transitioning can include medical components such as hormone therapy and surgery. However, not every transition includes medical interventions, and many people can't pursue them because of the cost or for health reasons. Or maybe they just want to go into women's bathrooms and look at naked women, perhaps. That's also a thing. Transitioning is a very personal process, and privacy should be respected. So, privacy should be respected. But how does that happen when the person is demanding everybody? So somebody just shows up on, I guess somebody was something, and now they're showing up as something else, and they're demanding that everybody use specific pronouns for them and letting them know, obviously, things have changed. I'm Garrett now. So how does privacy work into all of that exactly? Seems like kind of the opposite of that. Seems like being like advertising it and making people get involved by forcing them to use these pronouns that they've decided to use. It all seems a bit strange. People may choose not to share their trans status or gender identity publicly due to fear of harassment or discrimination. Well, I mean, if you're a guy and then you just show up to work one day and you're a girl, like everybody's kind of gonna know, right? This is all just totally incoherent nonsense. It's always this duality with the left. So they have it both ways. They have their cake and they eat it too. So they just say two opposing things are true at the same time. It's like Orwell. It's doublethink, essentially. This is 1984, but they do that so that they can always be right, just depending on the situation. So on one hand, assigned the wrong sex at birth, which again makes no fucking sense. But on the other hand, true gender, and gender is a separate made-up thing, is a separate thing that's made up. It's this gender and sex had always just been synonyms. Gender and sex, they just always meant the same thing. Then lunatics decided to redefine the word gender as this abstract thing, essentially the progressive soul, right? The progressive gender is the progressive soul. So it's this abstract concept that could be anything. It could be one of any infinite number of genders, and you just have to believe it because apparently they've always been that, even though they didn't know such and such gender existed until yesterday. So I guess really the point is that we're talking about generational damage, right? So woke lunacy, woke dysfunction, because this is dysfunction here, because this is just going to make life shitty for everybody working at the company, right? But we talk about that dysfunction being in everything, and it's really become now a generational problem. It's not something that can be fixed in 4 years. You know, it's so normal to see this stuff now that we kind of lose our disbelief that it exists at all. I mean, this is just one company with crazy ideas, crazy woke dysfunctional ideas. It's just one out of how many, right? It's just everywhere. We kind of forget to be just genuinely shocked by how stupid this is, by how insane it is, by how dysfunctional and incoherent it is. You know, the whole thing. On one hand, gender, well, to the left, everything. To the left, we're a blank slate, right? So everything is a social construct. But for the purposes of this, for the left, gender is a social construct. Yet also, it's fixed. So a 5-year-old can be born in the wrong body and definitely know they were born in the wrong body and then need their body changed. Or you can't have both. It can't be both. It can't be a social construct and also be fixed. Again, this is the double think. Doesn't seem to bother them. Anyway. Let's see, what do we got? Trudeau takes no accountability for the housing crisis Canadians are dealing with, ignoring a reporter's question about the Liberals' 8 years in power. Instead, he blames international. We're not going to look at this one. We've done quite a bit on Trudeau. I think I got another one to take a look at later. Maybe we'll move on. Let's see. CNN reporters suck up to Kamala Harris. I am struck just in your presence, one told her. Well, this is John Stossel. And he's talking about the difference in treatment between, from mainstream journalists, between how they treat Republicans and how they treat Democrats. And this is also the same. Needless to say, it's the same in Canada, everywhere else. All right, let's take a look.
Have you noticed how some in the media just suck up to some politicians?
I'm struck just in your presence.
Struck in her presence.
Looking you in the eye with your passion that you are displaying.
Republicans are treated differently.
If I may finish just answering.
Well, let me
this
just.
is really important.
I'm gonna go ahead and interrupt you here.
On the DOJ
Are you
and
comfortable
the
with that term?
FBI,
Let's just,
we have.
Joe, I just want to pause this for 1 second because there's a comment here I want to go over, and it's related to this absolute ridiculous, bullshit. Which is a couple chats here. Antipop says, I am person and thing, but call me place. I'm not offended. How reasonable of you. Jaham says, how is caving to this pronoun nonsense any different than telling a schizophrenic their giant astronaut rabbit buddy is real? It's not. It's not. It's all made up. It's the same thing. Like there is no difference, right? None of this is science, right? The experts, right? They don't have any evidence of this stuff. It's all just made up. These are all just abstract concepts. They're fictions. They're make-believe. Again, we are a sexually producing, sexually dimorphous species, male and female. That's it. Done. Right? We have different personalities, and if they just called their genders personalities, well, okay, fine. Right? But they're pretending that gender is some sort of, again, it's got religious overtones to it, right? It's like the progressive soul. They're pretending that this abstract concept of gender is real, that there's some sort of evidence for it. There is not. It's just made up. It's just a made up story. Apparently to try and trick people into getting horrible things done to themselves. Anyway, let's get back to this. So, John Stossel, CNN reporters suck up to Kamala Harris. Oh, Antipop says, astronaut budgie. Well, if you've got an imaginary astronaut budgie friend, I mean, that actually doesn't sound so bad. John Stossel, CNN reporters suck up to Kamala Harris. Interviewing Republicans, the tone is very different. Here are examples. Let's start again.
Have you noticed how some in the media just suck up to some politicians?
I'm struck just in your presence.
Struck in her presence.
Looking you in the eye with your passion that you are displaying.
Republicans are treated differently.
If I may finish just answering.
Well, let me
this
just.
is really important.
Oh,
I'm gonna go ahead and interrupt you here.
On the DOJ
Are you
and
comfortable
the
with that term?
FBI,
Let's just,
we have
just
seen.
on my question, though, Governor.
Excuse me.
Aggressive interviews are easy to notice, but some bias is more subtle. For example,
What a great campaign.
the media have always covered Iowa caucus victory speeches.
We're going to want to listen in very, very closely.
Thank you, Iowa.
But this year, when Trump won,
Thank you. We love you all.
CNN cut away from his speech.
Here he is right now under my voice. You hear him repeating his anti-immigrant rhetoric.
Actually, no, Jake, you hear him. We don't. CNN wouldn't let us actually listen to Trump and decide for ourselves. MSNBC showed none of Trump's speech. Rachel Maddow said,
We will let you know if there's any news made.
Maddow says it's not responsible to broadcast Trump live because he lies so much. But we reporters can point that out instead of cutting away when he talks. I've repeatedly reported on Trump's lies. Trump lies even about unimportant things like the crowd at his inauguration, the ratings of his TV show. But Biden lies too. Here he lies about doing well in law school.
Ended up in the top half of my class.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class.
He also lied when he said,
I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period.
I shouldn't be surprised that the media treat Republicans differently. For every Republican in newsrooms, there are 10 Democrats. And now NPR has actually hired this woman to be its new CEO. She not only tweeted, Trump's a racist, but during BLM looting said, sure, looting is counterproductive, but it's fine because what they're looting comes from a system of oppression. She's now the boss of government-funded radio? Yes. Here's another example.
The governor of Texas refuses to give in to federal law.
Recently, reporters suddenly got very upset about rule of law.
The governor of Texas refuses to give in to federal law.
The media can't believe that Texas politicians put up a fence and won't remove it even after the feds told them to. But when it comes to sanctuary cities, the tone is very different.
Communities that shield undocumented immigrants by not reporting offenses to immigration enforcement.
They choose not to follow federal immigration laws.
They simply choose not to follow the law. They don't refuse like Texas does.
The governor of Texas refuses to give in to federal law.
Finally, the way the media labels politicians is just biased. Argentina's new president is a libertarian who promises to take a chainsaw to big government. So the media call him far right.
Far right.
Yeah, he's too awesome. So they really, really hate him. They hate Milei. Anyway, let's continue.
Radical.
Far right Javier Milei.
Far right Javier Milei.
Far right libertarian Javier Milei.
At least she calls him libertarian, but libertarians aren't far right. Most of us support ending wars, free trade, gay marriage, and all sorts of things far from far right.
Milei supports legalizing the sale of human organs.
Maybe you oppose organ markets, but it's not far right. Conservatives are more likely to oppose organ sales. The shallow media just label anyone who doesn't agree with them right wing.
Argentina elected a right.
So, yeah, I think we get the point, right? And the obvious truth is that in the United States, like 90%, 95% of the mainstream media is just simply a propaganda arm of the Democrats. It's no different in Canada. The CBC is just a propaganda arm of the Trudeau Liberals. I mean, in that case, Trudeau's actually paying them. He's literally funding them. So, as well as other, corporate media in Canada, which he's not doing it to be nice because he's a nice guy, right? We know why he's doing it. He's not paying them to criticize him, right? You have media that, may not survive without the money that he gives them. Certainly there's going to be a lot more job losses than there already are. There's a pretty perverse incentive there, is there not? And that's aside from the fact that, there's no working your way up from the mailroom anymore, becoming a cub reporter, all of that. No, these are everybody going straight from the indoctrination mills, from the journalism schools, straight into their jobs. And they've been propagandized. They know what they think. They don't think that they're journalists. They think that they're activists. They think it's their job to shape your opinion, to tell you what to think. So, again, I say, generational problems. Like, this stuff all has to be turned around. I think it can be. In any case, corporate media is it's going down the tubes fast anyway. Partially just simply because of the internet, but partially as well because they basically cut off half the population. Somebody is going to try and just be objective. One of these big companies at some point is going to, at least in a desperate last-ditch effort. Probably. I guess maybe that's not guaranteed. Looks like we got hot retarded chicks in the chat. How you doing, sir? Good to see you. Best name in the biz. Best name in the biz. All right. I find this hilarious. This is just this. The left has just become so absurd. Melanie Joly, she's our foreign minister of foreign affairs in Canada. Melanie Joly states that Haiti is known for its, well, let's watch actually. Let's watch. Everybody thinks she's banging Trudeau, by the way.
Haiti is known for its beautiful culture and its welcoming people. Canada shares deep connections with the people of Haiti, and many Haitians have chosen to build their lives in Canada. They're our neighbors, our friends, our brothers, and our sisters.
A few moments later. We are currently evacuating Canadians by helicopter. I cannot give details about the nature of the operations because I do not want them to be targeted by gangs.
Haiti.
So she was speaking in French there. It's Canada, so they were translating to English. Yeah. So it's a wonderful, beautiful place. Definitely not a shithole country. But we're also evacuating people by helicopter because of the cannibal gangs who might eat them. You just can't make it up, people. I mean, if anything, at least if nothing else, they're good for a laugh, right? I laughed so hard there, I just gave myself a cramp. All right. 1 second. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so this one is fascinating. Miles and miles and miles between these words and anything even resembling reality, i.e., the garbage Jonathan K refers to. So, from Jonathan K. What makes this garbage worse is that you know it went through 5 drafts and required 3 different committees and 4 sensitivity readers. So this is from University of Toronto. So it's Canadian, so you know it's going to be incoherent woke gibberish. In order to reimagine archives as material fragments that narrate presences, proximities, and solidarities which persist as fissures in Canadian, which persist as fissures in colonial ordering. Keep in mind, this is all one long run-on sentence from a university. This exhibition gathers artists' works that represent movements against empire or movements along routes established in the wake of empire in terms of their text and image archives and how such archives are configured into sedimentary bases upon which new identities, nations, or diasporas may build and image themselves. That's one sentence. That is from the University of Toronto. So I mentioned earlier that the institutions have all been completely taken over and made completely dysfunctional. What makes this garbage worse is that you know it went through 5 drafts and required 3 different committees and 4 sensitivity readers. This is a typical word salad from the far left lunatics. What does this mean? In order to reimagine archives, so reimagine means redefining. So just saying that archives actually means something else, which I guess is important to them for some reason. So they're just going to redefine another thing here for their own purposes. So I think what it means, material fragments that narrate presences, proximities, and solidarities which persist as fissures in colonial ordering. There's only one thing that this stuff always means. For one thing, white people bad. So that's just right off the bat. White people bad. But I think what they're trying to say here is that an archive will now only be for like woke, anti-colonial, communist fantasy bullshit. Which only exists to just demonize white people, basically. And really, the ultimate thing underneath it all is capitalism, because these are all communists. All of them are Marxists. Every single last woke lunatic is a Marxist. So, and everything is geared towards just demonizing who isn't them, which is, of course, white people, but also non-white people that aren't communists. They also get it as well. So I don't know. I mean, it's about getting rid of and just denouncing everything that isn't insanely destructive, racist lunacy. That's basically what it comes down to. It's just full of the special words they use. Narrate presences, proximities, and solidarities, which persist as fissures in colonial ordering. So solidarities, colonial, whatever colonial ordering means, represent movements against empire. Very concerned with that. Movements along routes established in the wake of empire. They're talking about fucking archiving. This is how crazy these people are. They have to literally destroy everything with their insane word salads. They have to redefine everything. They really do want to destroy everything about Western culture. Just clearly. This is clearly not anything to do with scholarship. This is just ideological lunacy. That's all this is. This is just insane, opaque propaganda. The reason they make this so incomprehensible, so difficult to understand what they're saying, is so that people won't try. So they won't have to explain themselves, right? They just say, well, I'm a scholar. And here, look at this. And you look at it and you go, oh, Jesus Christ. It gives you a headache after. It's so poorly written. It gives you a headache after 3 words. That's intentional. It's to obscure the fact that the only real meaning behind it is that they fucking hate you. And they want to torch civilization. That's it. What is the chat saying? The Antipop says, no long pork here. Oh, God. They were back on Haiti there. The long pork, that's people. Long pork is people. Grammar slamma bammer. Hot Retarded Chick says, pure Nazism. It's really not very different, to be honest. And don't forget, National Socialists. National Socialists. When you had the communists and the Nazis fighting in the streets of Berlin, in the late 20s and in the early 1930s, it wasn't the left versus the right. It was just 2 different kind of leftists. They're both collectivists. They're both identitarians. You've got class identitarianism, and then you've got race identitarianism. But they're both collectivist movements. I mean, fasci, right? Invented in Italy. Fasci is like the Italian word for like a bundle of sticks, because bundle of sticks is stronger than one stick on its own, right? They're collectivists. Both ultimately are everything for the state. What it comes down to. You can say the people, but really it just means the state. Let's see. So anyway, this is some crazy shit, right? I wonder what the internet is saying about it. Oh, there's not much in there. All right, I guess we'll move on. Let's see what time we got. 9:36. There's some boxing on tonight at 11, so I want to wrap it up before 11 o'clock. Going for 2 hours. Yeah, we still got at least another hour to go, I think. Unless I run out of stuff earlier than I thought. James Lindsay, he is a great person to pay attention to if you want to understand the underpinnings of all this wokeness and how it's connected to like Marxism and communism. Let's listen to what this little speech by Klaus Schwab, who says he's penetrated the Canadian cabinet.
You have this anti-system movement. What we are seeing is a revolution against the system. So fixing the present system is not enough. Now, there is, of course, an anti-system, which is called libertarianism, which means to tear down everything which creates some kind of influence of government into private lives.
Interesting how he uses the word influence, isn't it?
It's dismantling the system. You have this anti-system.
He loves the system that they're building, that Trudeau is building, that he penetrated the cabinet 50%. He literally said that. I mean, I've shown the video in my videos. Rather, subscribe to the channel, and you can see all my many other videos. Because I only do a live stream once a week. The rest of the time, I'm just putting out other videos. You can see I've shown you the videos, the things that Klaus Schwab has said in public. He's very proud of Justin Trudeau, he says. It feels like they're trying to build some sort of a system, doesn't it? And those nasty, those evil libertarians, they don't want it. They don't want what Klaus has to offer. Those terrible libertarians who don't want to be ruled by weird German lunatics who wear like weird space costumes. Who wouldn't want that? What sensible person wouldn't be ruled by the ideas of Klaus Schwab, who sees you as an ant and tells you that you'll have nothing and be happy, and you shouldn't really be eating meat anymore? He's going to eat meat, but you shouldn't have a car either. That's bad for the environment. He'll have a car. He'll eat whatever he wants. He'll live in a big house. He'll fly around the world. He'll use jets. You won't, though, because it's bad. It's bad when you do it. Yeah. I don't know. It feels kind of obvious this guy's like a Bond villain, right? He's just a bad dude. He says he admires China. You know, I think that is actually the end game for all these people, for like the Trudeaus and the Bidens and the Klaus Schwabs, and the John Kerrys. I think that the end game is a Chinese-style fascism. You know, well, you'll still have the huge corporations. You'll certainly still have the big tech firms and whatnot, but they just will be working hand in hand with the government openly. In China, every company over a certain amount of employees has a Chinese Communist Party office at their company. So there's no, it's capitalism with Chinese characteristics, right? It's really just fascism. It's that melding of corporate and the government, one party rule and the government. And corporations. I think that's the plan for the Western world. Hot retarded chick says, I like him. What? I know you're just kidding. I know you're just joking around. That's not going to be a popular opinion around here. I will say, Dr. No, he says. Yeah, kind of like Dr. No. But instead of having did Dr. No have a cat? I think he did, right? I think Klaus would have like a bald ferret or something. I don't know. All I know is that I don't like him and I don't trust him and I don't want him having any influence over any people in the world whatsoever. And the connection to Trudeau doesn't impress me at all, I will say. What does the internet have to say about this? Oh, what's going on? Something went wrong. From an emotional perspective, how does such an anti-charismatic Stalag commander looking and talking caricature get such a following? Like all of them cannot afford on their own their waterfronts on Lake Geneva. What is he offering them that they can't seem to refuse? It's a question, right? Like clearly there's something coordinated happening between Western governments. Certainly in the Anglosphere, but also you go through, throughout Europe as well. Clearly there's some sort of coordination here that they're not telling us about. Obviously this whole getting together every year at Davos, that looks suspect, doesn't it? They're hanging out with Klaus. Doesn't look very good. There's clearly something happening. James Lindsay said, I've heard that to be in person with him is like being able to see the future and to picture yourself in it. But I honestly don't know. It definitely doesn't translate to camera, and I've never met him. So I think he's being serious there. That Klaus has some in person. He's got this vision that you can imagine yourself in. I guess if you're evil is probably the qualification. Isn't this old? And didn't the meetup the meetup this month? I think that is old. I think it's a couple of years old, but so what? Still doing the same shit. Let's see. Who asked him? Who elected him? Who does he think he is to decide for us without our permission? Yeah, we joke about we talk about penetrating the Trudeau's cabinet by more than 50% with, WF young leaders from the Young Leaders program, but like, what the fuck? Why is that happening? Like, how does this happen? All of a sudden, this weird supervillain guy just has this massive influence over Canada? Clearly. How does that happen? Nobody elected him. Again, it feels like, it's just certain at this point, isn't it? That there are things that are happening just out of our sight. And nobody's asking us. Certainly nobody's asking. Certainly nobody's voting for it. Let's see. Perfect 1-minute summary of the World Economic Forum's Great Reset agenda. Let's take a look at this.
Is helping them accomplish their goal, which really is a global public-private fascist movement and fusion of big government, big tech, big money to create a technocratic ruling elite, which conveniently is them. And really, Laura, if you want to look at a different way too with the World Economic Forum, they want to create feudalism 2.0, in which we are serfs and they are the lords ruling over us. You'll have nothing and be happy is one of the things that comes out of Davos. That's what they're aiming for. They're aiming for feudalism in which we are serfs and we should be happy that they are ruling over us.
Yeah, obviously the World Economic Forum. Obviously the World Economic Forum is exerting some sort of ideological pressure or influence, right? Is there something overarching above that? I don't know. But I just feel like at this point it's clear. By the way, that woman in the picture there, she's like the censorship queen of the WEF, right? I think she is high up in the EU, and she is just crazy about censorship. She can't wait to censorship. She said, "Oh, it's coming to the US. It's coming to the United States." Yeah, the way they talk, it's just as if they see the population of Earth as ants. Cities are just different anthills with different names. What's the chat saying about this? Let's see. How retarded chicks are saying, eat bugs. I'm not going to eat the bugs. I'm not going to eat them. Hitler Youth Program. Yeah, I think that's the WF Young Leaders you're referring to there. Let's see. Antipop says Schwab must be charming. The new Prince of Charming. It's just hard to imagine him being charming, isn't it? That's the thing. He seems to be the opposite of charming to me. Just immediate distrust as soon as he starts talking. Even just looking at him. Where is he? Let's get him back again. Look at that. Just, you can't even hear him talk. You just look and you go, I don't like that guy. I don't trust that guy. And then you hear him talk.
The present system is not enough. Now, there is, of course, a anti-system.
Hell no. Hell no, I don't trust that guy. Now, there is, of course, the anti-system. Yeah, is that like where people get to make decisions for themselves and live like actual enjoyable lives? Is that the anti-system that he's talking about? I think it is. The system is a system that he apparently, along with corrupt politicians, get to control everybody else with. I'm assuming it's something like that. All right, you guys got to give me 1 minute. I just got to take a very short break. Hold on. All right, I'm back. Thanks for waiting, everybody. Let's see. Check out the chat again real quick. Deferring to, J-Ham says, deferring to the world for economic advice is like asking a Lizzo for dietary recommendations. Good Lord. Antipop says, I think their secret is charm. Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't strike me as a charming man, this Klaus Schwab. Anyway, let's continue. Now, this is interesting because, you know, they keep saying this, that Trump is going to get like some large share of the black vote, and it doesn't seem to actually ever happen. Latinos, it looks like it's more likely to happen. But anyway, it says here, CNN reporter left visibly stunned on air after new polling data shows Trump winning big against Biden with the black vote. Okay, so let's take a look at this.
So let's break this down by race, right? Let's look at voters of color, look at white voters. And what we see here is back in 2020, according to the exit poll, Joe Biden won voters of color in Michigan by 62 points. Look at that advantage today. It has been sliced by a third, only 21 points. That's Joe Biden's lead over Donald Trump among voters of color. Among white voters, Donald Trump has gained a little bit of steam as well. It was 11 points in 2020. His margin over Joe Biden right now is 16 points. But this decline in support for Joe Biden among voters of color in Michigan is something we've been seeing in state after state after state and nationally as well, where he's got some big problems. This is a historic low amount of support for a Democratic presidential candidate among voters of color, and it seems to be happening across the board, Kate. So let's break this down by race, right? Let's look at voters of color.
So, I mean, it looks good for Trump, right? And it would make sense, considering that it seems like the flooding their communities with like millions of illegal immigrants isn't going over very well with like the black community or any community for that matter in the United States. But it never seems to really pan out for Republicans, does it? So I don't know. I mean, if it does go like that, I mean, then Biden has no chance of winning outside of fortification, of course, right? Which I think there's an expectation that there's going to be some amount of fortification for 2024, right? I guess the question many people are asking is that will the difference be too great for fortification to overcome? So I don't know. I mean, if you go from voters of color being plus 62 points in 2020 to 21 points for Biden in 2024, I mean, that seems like that would make it impossible for Biden to win. Right? So I don't know. I guess if that holds, it certainly would take a lot of fortification to overcome it. I wonder if the internet has anything to say about it. Let's see. This one says America is fed up with Joe Biden. Vote Trump 2024 and let's get America back on track. Well, if you agree. So that's not really answering the question, though. All that transparent pandering to black Americans by Biden and Harris only pushed the black community to Trump. Well, I don't think that's it either. I think it is literally. I think illegal immigration and has had an enormous impact. They're not liking it, especially now they're seeing them getting like what is it, $10,000 cards, like debit cards in New York. It's some like absurd amount of money. Getting free housing, like they're seeing, they're not liking it, right? And also, too, don't forget that the economy is terrible under Biden. As much as they try and spin it and lie, you know, people know what they know. People know the life that they're actually living, and they know how much money they have. So that's powerful too. Joe's going to have a lot of people to tell, you ain't black, come November. Yeah. Let's see. Here, what did they think was going to happen when our near Comatose Prez is allowing millions of illegals to come in and live like royalty while citizens are having a hard time buying groceries and putting gas in their car. I think that's a big deal. Now, whether it will pan out or whether it will just be some small difference, when they're talking about that difference of like 62 points to 21 points there, so that's including basically all non-white people. So I think that there may be an actual real shift with like Hispanics, with Latinos. Although, I mean, Hispanics are white people. So I don't know why they. Anyway, we won't get into that right now. If you're part of the Spanish diaspora, Spain is in Europe. Anyway, let's see. What do we got? That female looks pissed, hands on hip, scratching her throat, lips pursed. She's not happy. Well, her job is to convince people to vote, outside of their own interest, against their own interest. That's her job. And if people aren't buying it, she's not doing her job properly. Maybe she gets fired. Yeah, this is interesting. Mentally fit to be president, mentally unfit for criminal charges. I think we all know that story, right? Yeah. It's such a weird, surreal thing. Like sometimes you just have to stop and go, this is all real? This isn't like some alternate universe. This isn't like a weird dream. This is actually all happening. He's fit to be president, but he's not fit for criminal charges. Bizarre. All right, I think that's what's this here? Hold on. Make crypto great again, Donald Trump. Okay. All right, let's move on. I don't know if you guys have seen this one, but again, when we say these people are communists, just believe it.
You're over here appropriating a space for your own personality.
I'm a journalist.
You're not a journalist.
How do you decide who's a journalist?
I mean, considering I was fired as a journalist, you're no journalist.
Literally, would you rather be at your stick your whole life?
You're not doing this for like what the actual conversation is, which is getting rid of this country.
Getting rid of this country?
Getting rid of America, getting rid of the West. This is what this is for.
You want to get rid of America?
Yes. Everyone here understands that at some level we need to get rid of America completely.
What should we do?
Decolonization, land back.
Where should we go,
though? In our communities. We need to go leave the capitals, leave the central capitals of commerce, of capital itself. You're over here appropriating a space for your own personality.
I'm a journalist.
So, as usual, doesn't even understand their own ideology, completely incoherent, just knows they want to destroy civilization. That's it. That's it. That's the whole thing. It's very fashionable these days, don't you know? I wonder what the internet's saying about it. Brainwashed little communists. What happens when you want to decolonize? It's called genocide, you ignorant fools. This is what our colleges taught these kids, to hate America. Yeah, it's become clear since October 7th of last year what they mean by decolonize. They made that clear. It's not nice. Elon Musk agrees with that. He says, yeah. Decolonize ultimately is genocide. I know it's hard for a lot of people, not the people watching this, but a lot of people think that we're at the end of history, that nothing bad can ever really happen again, that there's this optimism bias. No. Pick up. I'm not talking to you guys because I know you guys know your shit, but for these other people, they really need to start picking up some history books, just 20th century. Find out what can happen very, very quickly to a civilized society by the compassionate, empathetic people of the left. It's a genuine danger. I wish that I do what I can to try and warn people of the horrors that are are coming. If things keep, if the modern left gets its way, it is a future of horrors. All right, that will be comparable to the horrible things that have happened to people in the past. People who had no idea what was coming. Like the people, the people, the schemers and the plotters in Russia. Did they have any idea of what was really going to happen after they deposed the Tsar and the power struggle began? Did they have any idea what was going to happen? The millions of people that were going to die, the cruelty, the horror that would last for 70 years? People had no idea. Because you couldn't imagine it. Same in China, same in Germany. People just couldn't imagine it. You know, we've got this disease now where people think we're at the end of history. Nothing bad is ever going to happen again. Yes, it will, if we let it. Let's see. It's more than America. It's all the West, all of civilization, capitalism. Well, they hate capital. They're all communists, so obviously they hate capitalism. But yeah, it's all of the West that they want to destroy. Elon Musk says true. And I agree with Elon. Carl Benjamin says that it's part of the strategy. Use reasonable concerns of normal people. One sec. So Carl Benjamin says it's part of the strategy. Use reasonable concerns of normal people to advance a goal that is so preposterous, it makes their opponents look absurd when they accurately characterize it. Yep. Yeah, because it does seem preposterous, doesn't it? You know? Like when you tell people, no, they actually are communists, they actually want to destroy Western civilization. Well, no, they don't. No, they don't. Nothing that bad could ever happen. No, that's just a few silly college students. Yeah, the silly college students graduated, and now they're running institutions. Now they're giving sex changes to children, which is something I've made a lot of videos. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and check out my videos. I made quite a few on that. You might find of particular interest the video I did on the WPATH files. WPATH is the World Professional Association of Transgender Health. This is the authority that all the other authorities appeal to, like the American Medical Association, Endocrine Association, American Association of Psychiatrists and Psychologists. That's the authority that they all appeal to, is WPATH. And a whistleblower leaked like thousands of files, internal Zoom messages, from this WPATH to Michael Schellenberger, and the results are just totally shocking. It's unbelievable that can happen. And it's totalitarian the way that the power is exercised. You really, like, I'm not going to get into a long thing of it here, but just watch the video and you will see how insane it is. Can't remember how I got on that. I don't know. I guess we'll have to move on. Well, I think this is getting at what we've been talking about quite a bit tonight. The goal of the globalists is to take away the power from all countries and transfer that power to international institutions controlled by the ruling elite. United Nations, World Economic Forum, World Health Organization. That certainly makes sense, doesn't it? All right, let's move on. Okay. I like my coffee how I like my women. Without a penis. From Konstantin Kisin. That's true. All right. Why is communism still so popular? Because it appeals to losers. All right. So what is this woman having to say? I think this is a rare case of a woman who, on like a TikTok woman who actually makes sense.
Communism was created by a loser
who created an ideology for losers, an ideology that caused destruction, death, poverty, wherever it was applied. And you may be asking yourself, why do people still support it? Why is there still people saying that communism is a good idea? And I'll give you the answer right now, because there's still a lot of losers out there. Communism was created by a loser who created an ideology.
I like her. I like her. I definitely like her. She's making a lot of sense. It was an ideology created by a loser. Karl Marx was a freeloading loser. It's preferred by losers who can't accomplish anything on their own. So collectivism appeals to them. It appeals to resentful people. It appeals to people of the worst character, right? Resentful losers. They love it, right? People who just want to take from other people. People who resent other people's success or their talent. It's also a great place for psychopaths, right? Because, with the collectivism, it's an opportunity to control people, to be cruel in the name of the people, the good of the people. The famous, communist comeback of, well, you gotta break a few eggs to make an omelet, right? Well, it's not a few, it turns out. It turns out it's millions. And it turns out the eggs are people. The eggs are you. Orwell famously retorted to a champagne socialist, "Where's the omelet?" Yeah, there never is one. Just millions and millions of broken eggs, which are actually people. What does the internet have to say? The ideology of envy, jealousy, and sloth wrapped up as virtue. Yep. It appeals to lazy people. It may not work, but it sounds like it should work to naive people. Some people think they can be near the top in a communist country and they'll support anything that benefits them, no matter what happens to other people. Old communists, lazy, broke, cringe, smelly, entitled, narcissistic. Modern communists, lazy, broke, cringe, smelly, entitled, narcissistic. The hammer and sickle should be viewed exactly the same as the swastika. They're just the same thing. They both represent millions of dead. They both represent collectivism. They both represent the worst examples of leftism. They represent envy. They represent jealousy. They represent all of the worst characteristics that humans have. Narcissism, entitlement, and inhumanity. I mean, it's ironic, isn't it, that this ideology, which is supposed to be the ideology of empathy and compassion and all that, just ends up killing so many fucking people every single time. Soviet Union, China, Pol Pot, Cambodia. It's truly astonishing, isn't it? The irony there. And I guess it's because when you view society as just simply a collective, right, you really have to just view the people around you as just faceless identity blobs, right? You're faceless class blobs, or I guess in modern communism, modern Marxism, it's identity. So it's gone from class to identity now. But you have to see people as kind of faceless. It's not about the individual. Individual doesn't matter, right? It's about the collective. So, it reminds me of that quote, at least it was attributed to Stalin, where he said, one death is a tragedy, a million is a million is a statistic. That kind of sums up communism right there, doesn't it? All right. Let's see. Let's go to the chat for a second. Let's see. JM says our side is better than the communists because capitalism has done more to reduce poverty and our chicks are way hotter. That's true. Yeah, I mean, I made videos on this too. Subscribe and you can see all my videos, by the way, if you haven't already. But it's like a hockey. If you look at the Industrial Revolution and you look at, average income per person. I mean, you had 8% of the human population living in just utter poverty. Utter poverty. I mean, just constantly subjected to like famine and just miserable circumstances, and then you have the Industrial Revolution and it just goes up like a hockey stick. It's truly astonishing. We've gone from 95% of the population living in absolute dirt poverty to it's like 5% now. Communism didn't do that. Capitalism did that. It's just a fact. It is just a fact. It's a tragedy that students aren't being taught this in school and at any point in the educational chain. It's truly a tragedy. Because, if the communists ever get what they want, they aren't going to like it. And we know that because history. Because we know it. All you have to do is just look at history. Boom. Done. All right. Let's see. And the chicks are way hotter. It's true. Way hotter. Well, for one thing, they know like what sex they are, right? They're not confused about it. They're not trying to take drugs so that they can grow beards, right? I mean, a woman grows like a full beard and automatically that just takes her down like 4 notches, right? She go from like a 7 to a 3 immediately. Maybe a 0. The green armpit hair, that's not helping. Let's see. We don't have that much more time, so maybe we'll be careful here. We've already been through this one. So I have a joke about this. I don't know if I told it last time. Was this one from last time? I think I did tell this joke. I'm not going to go there. It's a spicy joke. Do you want me to tell you anyway? I'll tell you anyway. You might not have seen it. So let's listen to this.
Assalamu alaikum. I've gained about 4,000 followers in the last 2 days, and so I felt I should reintroduce myself to everybody who's just joining me in my spiritual journey. I'm a gender fluid trans woman, and I'm a Christian who has studied Hinduism for over 10 years and is now currently studying and practicing Islam. But I remain a Christian, and throughout my journey, I'm sure to remain.
So it's a gender fluid trans woman who's Christian, but has studied Hinduism for 10 years and is also a practicing Muslim. So the only question is, at this point, is does he throw himself off the rooftop or does somebody else have to do it? I think it's a pretty good one. All right. I want to find something fun. All right. So this one's kind of fun. Let's take a look here.
Okay, you guys are all just like really misogynistic. I don't necessarily need a man to tell me.
How do you define misogyny?
I don't know. I don't like this.
What? I'm just asking how you define misogyny.
Can I go?
Are you okay? Like, do you want to go as in leave? Is it because I asked how you define misogyny? Is that the... If you want to leave, you can leave. I was hoping we could continue having a conversation, but
so this is modern feminism. So she doesn't like the way the conversation's going, so she accuses him of being a misogynist. He says, well, what was misogynistic? What does misogynistic mean? She doesn't know. So for her, misogynistic just means anybody who challenges her in any way is misogynist. That's what she's been taught. That's what modern feminism has done to this poor woman. Made her just completely incapable of reasoning, right? Nothing is her fault. Everything is the patriarchy. Everything is misogyny. Anything, she sleeps through her alarm. That's the patriarchy. That's misogyny, right? She has not had to grapple with herself in any way, with herself and her place in the world and her view of herself. No introspection needed. No, it's the patriarchy's fault. Everything is the patriarchy's fault. This is what modern feminism has done to, frankly, this poor woman who is completely unequipped to deal with reality and the real world. And I find that a shame. Like, it's just a waste of young potential. What does the internet have to say? And I hope they're being kind. I don't need a man to tell me what to do. Also her. Can I go? Starts crying. Yeah. This was actually very difficult to watch because he wasn't even trying to disrespect her, but the question has her stumped. This proves that a lot of people bandy around words and don't know what they mean. Yeah, if you're going to accuse people of things, you should at least know what the words you're using actually mean. You should know what you're actually accusing them of. That would make sense. But I guess maybe that's just the patriarchy in me speaking. I don't know. I'll bring it up at the next patriarchy meeting. Next Friday, good for you guys. She was totally roasted by that simple, non-aggressive question that she didn't have the answer to. So, yeah, I believe it. So many people just regurgitate buzzwords and statements when they have no clue. She should know what misogyny means. Like, that's not like some weird esoteric, like, she should know what that word means. No forgiveness. She needs to be shot right into the sun. With that liberal woman who moved to Florida. This is not normal behavior. Asking her to define the words she uses every day shouldn't trigger her into tears. Well, this is what happens when you never get any pushback from anybody. All right, let's go back. Let's check out the chat. Let's see. Invin says, made me laugh. Was that the joke about the trans woman who's a Christian, but also Hindu and also a practicing Muslim, and whether or not he had to throw himself off the rooftop or somebody else had to do it? Thank you. I thought that was a good one. JM says, good one. Thank you, sir. Antipop says, bring in log relief. Invin says, good women appreciate masculinity. Yes, they do. They're not confused about it. A lot of feminists try to kind of like, they don't understand men, and they try and emulate men because they're told that they're powerful, and they try and emulate men because they think that's going to make them powerful and strong or something, but they don't understand men at all, and they just end up coming across as awful. Let's keep going. So here was this Yahoo News story. Don Lemon interviewed a mediocre white man. So I'm sure we all saw the Don Lemon interview with Elon Musk, the disaster that was. So first off, it's obviously completely racist on Yahoo News. But what kind of pretzels do you have to twist your brain into to see Elon Musk is a mediocre white man. Right? I think these are the fantasies that communists tell themselves. Right? This is a journalist, right? So very far left, almost guaranteed, like, what is it, like 50-1 at this point? So these are the fantasies that they have to tell themselves to justify their far leftist, lunatic, collectivist, communist ideas. You know, Elon Musk is just a mediocre white man. Anybody could have done it. This journalist, Michael Harriot, he could have done it himself. It's just that racism stopped him from, let's see, popularizing electric cars. The first guy to do that. From building a rocket company that builds rockets that can go up into orbit, then land again, like on a platform. It was just racism that stopped Michael Harriot from doing that. At Neuralink, right? Just the guy who it's just allowed a quadriplegic to play video games with his mind. That's all that the mediocre white man Elon Musk, anybody could do it. Anybody could do it. I mean, they would, except for racism and sexism and the patriarchy. Because we all got together and just selected, all the white men got together and just decided, well, who's going to be the one who does all of these amazing things that creates all of these incredible firsts, all these technological marvels, right? Oh, well, how about that South African guy? Let's get him. The left will really hate him. Ha, 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 ha. Like, it's truly bizarre, magical thinking. Elon Musk, Don Lemon, the wonderful, the brilliant Don Lemon, interviewed a mediocre white man. Obviously, the implication here is that Don Lemon is really something special. And he interviewed this mediocre white man. Fuck you. Fuck you. God damn it. Like, how much longer must we tolerate this absurd, ridiculous, open, overt racism? Anybody else getting sick of it? There's got to be a point there's got to be some point where enough people just go, yeah, I can't tolerate this anymore. Where enough people just say, we're not voting for anybody that hates us again. It's astonishing how many people vote for people that hate them. There's got to come a point where there's this critical mass where it's just, you can't win an election if you're just overtly racist like this. Jay Ham says, most ironically, Musk being from South Africa makes him an African American. It's true. It's true. But they don't like that, though, because that's not the right narrative. It's enough to drive you mad, isn't it? Don Lemon, the great Don Lemon, interviewed this mediocre white man, Elon Musk. You know, world's richest man. And for good reason. He's the world's richest man. Apparently, successfully launching the largest flying object ever put into space and enabling a quadriplegic to control a computer and play video games using just their thoughts is considered mediocre. LOL. Are these people even serious? Like, mediocre, Scott Adams, quote, mediocre white man is something racists say, so the DEI, or didn't earn it, that's our new redefinition of that, people pushing systemic racism look more credible. Mediocre white man is something racists say, so the DEI didn't earn it. People pushing systemic racism look more credible. Yeah, they have to twist their minds into these pretzels to justify their absurd ideology. Right? Because don't forget, they are all Marxists. They're all Marxists. They don't believe in the single great man unless it's like a mass murderer like Lenin or Stalin, you know. Let's see. What does the internet have to say? Let's find out. This is a real headline? Yep. Michael Harriot must think Albert Einstein and Thomas Edison were also mediocre. I am grateful for the mind of Elon Musk. Of the two, Musk is the only real African American. I think he should receive restitution. Let's see. Talk about blatant racism. Yep. For the author of that article. So you've decided to be stupid in public. Yeah, that is being stupid. If anything is being stupid in public, that's it. Yahoo News is doing its best to assign itself to the dustbin of history. What caliber of reporter would even allow their real name on an article on Yahoo? Well, it's to get clicks, obviously, right? And but it also falls in line with the writer's absurd, retarded ideology. Let's see, Planet Fitness. Well, we've been over Planet Fitness before. We covered that last week. Here's something on Trump. Here's Kristi Noem on Trump. Let's hear what she has to say.
Far-left policies had yet to wreak havoc on you, every American, and here with more. A governor who has kept South Dakota free, Kristi Noem, is with us. By the way, congratulations. Although you ward number far-left policies had yet to wreak havoc on you, every American, and here with more. A governor who has kept South Dakota free, Kristi Noem, is with us. By the way, congratulations. Although you ward number one, North Dakota beat you by 1/10 of a point when it comes to having the lowest unemployment in the country. I'm sure that kind of irritated you. That would irritate me.
Just a little bit. Yes, of course. We're always competitive with other states, but you were talking about COVID, and I was just remembering back to those first days of COVID, and I thank God that President Trump was the president and was in the White House during that time, because he actually let me as governor do my job. He let me be governor, make decisions for our people that were the best for our state, and our state is thriving today because of that. Everybody's working, they're earning a lot more income, women-owned businesses are doing better. We've got historic revenues and visitation, people moving in, we're growing, and it's all because President Trump was in the White House. And we've only seen our country decline since Joe Biden has been the administration that I have to get up and fight every day. So if Biden wants to go back and visit COVID, boy, have I got some stories of what happened on day one when Joe Biden took over the White House, because our military declined. He attacked our people. He tried to mandate vaccines and masks and hurt our children and set them back. It was tragic what his policies did to this country.
With 222 days.
So after listening to all that, the obvious question is, with Kristi Noem, would you? I think I would. I like her. I mean, she's a great looking politician. I don't mean to be crude here. I don't mean to be the patriarchy here, but I just notice things. I notice things sometimes. That's a foxy looking older lady. And I agree with her politics, obviously. I don't mean to be disrespectful, even though I absolutely am being that. But I don't know. I mean, it just needs to be, some things just need to be said, right? On that note, there's something else I wanted to show you. Something that absolutely needs to be said. Where is it? Or where are they? I guess is more to the point. Where are they? Oh, we're getting close. Where are they? Really? Not there? Well, I had a video. I thought I had a video of Sydney Sweeney's beautiful tits, and I just wanted to show you just because. Maybe there's some video in here. Because I really feel like blondes with big tits are back. I don't know if they were ever gone, but they're being really embraced by popular culture again, and I'm here for it. See, there's this. It's this. It needs to be said. Sydney Sweeney's boobs are not that big. There was a community note on this before, and it said the community note simply said, "Yes, they are." I wonder if there's anything in here. Nope. Oh well, we're gonna have to leave it alone. I just wanted to show you her beautiful tits, and that doesn't hurt anybody. I just wanted to do something nice for you guys, you know? I just wanted to do something good for a change. Now the Canadians will really enjoy this. This is actually, I think, a year or two old, but it's timeless, really.
There's no other way to put it. You might as well tell the truth. It's so important that Justin Trudeau be thanked for his service and then removed from office. He is the worst manager Canada has ever had. Total incompetency underneath him in the cabinet seats. Total incompetency in almost every mandate. Absolutely the worst I've ever seen. The very, very, very worst. And I think the Canadian people are starting to see how horrific this management team is. And it's very important. And listen, he's been a wildly successful politician, but the derivatives you're talking about are part of this complete incompetency of managing Canada's biggest business. Canada, there's no other way to put it. You might as well tell the truth. It's so important that Justin Trudeau be thanked for his service and then removed from office. He is.
This is before the polls switched, to like it's somewhere between like 16 and 20% now, lead for the Conservatives over Trudeau. So, he was ahead of the public at large on this. Not me. I was saying the same things. But I don't know. I just find it nice to hear that. I find it comforting to hear that. Somebody, on the media. I believe this was on, might have been on Canadian media too. And they wouldn't have liked it at all. I mean, Justin Trudeau's the one who pays them. So they're going to hate that. Let's see. We don't have much time left, so I'm going to try and just find fun things now. So I don't know if I would call this fun, but I don't really understand it. I can't play the music because it'll get copyrighted, so I'll just put, I think, some music that I think is appropriate. So that's Sam Smith, and I will say, still hotter than Madonna. I mean, like Madonna now. Madonna now is like, she'd be fine if your local Legion had a stripper, it would be Madonna, and she'd be fine for that, But I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. This is Sam Smith. He's just a fat guy who dresses up in like women's clothing now and sings. I guess maybe he has an okay voice. I'm not sure I've even heard one of his songs before. But I just don't understand this. This is just taking things to, like we had like David Bowie doing the androgynous gender bending stuff, but David Bowie seemed to be actually talented, and he didn't actually think that he was an alien or like a woman or anything. I don't get this. I don't get fat guy in like in like lingerie. I don't get it. Like, what does this appeal to? Like, what's the target audience for this? Bulimics? Who is, other than people who want to throw up, who is the target audience for this? I don't get it. Why are people going to this? It just seems entirely gross. It's like, hey, I've got 2 tickets for that really gross thing tonight. Do you want to come? Like, yeah, I feel like I put on a bit of weight lately, so I'd like to throw up. Yeah, I'll come, definitely. I'll go to the grossest thing. Like, I've got 2 tickets for the grossest thing in town, the grossest thing that will happen in town. You know, we can either go to the Sam Smith concert or we could go to the Slaughterhouse. Which one do you want to go to? They're both really gross. So yeah, I'm just saying I don't get it. I really don't understand it. Where is the appeal? Does anybody know where the appeal is? Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get a fat guy and put him in like garters and like lingerie and put him on a stage, and he's gonna be gross and be disgusting. And he'll sing some songs and stuff too, but they're bad songs. It's disposable music. But the main thing is fat guy, gross. Like if you just told me the plan, like if I just heard that plan, somebody asked me advice, I'd just say, that's a terrible plan. Don't do that. Inman says, O'Leary for prime minister. I would take him. Hot retarded chicks is doing a vomiting face. Well, that's appropriate. Anyway, I guess my point is that it's gross, and I don't understand why anybody would want to watch that. Like, you know, like that's a night out on the town. I wonder if the internet has anything to say, and I hope that it's kind. Who would go to this freak circus? I don't know, not me. Why do people cheer? Honestly, if everyone just laughed, then that would be the end of it. Yeah, how do people not laugh? Maybe people are going to laugh. He just can't hear them over the music. Sam Smith is a grotesque, fat caricature of everything that is wrong with our devolved dystopian culture. Yeah. I would say that Sam Smith is a red flag for the culture. Let's see. Starting to become a bestseller. Straight jackets, yeah. We need to start making those in mass, actually. Mass producing straight jackets. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to try and race through some stuff here. Let's see, what do we got? Covered that one last week. It's kind of mixed in. My bookmarks are all getting kind of mixed in chronologically now for some reason. Let's see. This is kind of funny. Declaration of memes. Let's see. So this is like a carnival, and it says, "I'm sorry I have to let you all go, but you're just not freaks anymore." Yeah, that's the modern world, isn't it? Let's see. You know, I was hoping I thought I had another fat, almost naked woman dancing in here somewhere. Because I know you guys love that. Let's see. What do we got? There's Kevin O'Leary. Okay, that one. Just wanted to show you this quickly. Laughter, the new symbol of the far right. Fucking hell. So what is it? Like everything is now. Boulders are right. Literally, there's a boulder removed from a university, and I can't remember where, somewhere in the States, because they thought it was a racist boulder. They say that milk is racist. Bird names are racist. Everything's racist. Everything is the new symbol of the far right. You know, punctuality is now the far right. I mean, what does this woman here? She wants to let you know that punctuality is racist. Let's take a listen. Come on. Oh God. Here we go. Oh, God damn it. All right, hold on. Let's reload. Okay, I think we're almost there. Yes, this woman wants to tell you that you're racist for expecting people to be on time.
Being on time is white supremacy because what are they always on time to do? Oppress. I'm always going to be 10 to 15 minutes late because that's the correct time, according to my people. Being on time is white supremacy.
So how would you even have a conversation? Really? I mean, it's the most idiotic thing that you've ever heard in your life. Being on time is white supremacy because what are they always in time to do? Oppress. Like this, she can't possibly believe all of this. It's just, I'm lazy and here's my excuse. That's it. What else? What else could it possibly be? Right? I just don't feel like being on time. I just want to blame my own faults on white people because what are they always in time to do? Oppress. I've got a feeling that if this woman goes to a restaurant and she doesn't have a menu in her hands in 10 minutes, she's going to internalize some of that white supremacy real quick. I bet that anytime she's asked to wait for anything, that anything isn't on time for her, she internalizes all of that white supremacy immediately. Absolutely immediately. So it's all just bullshit, right? It's about her just making excuses for herself and blaming the usual white people. Everything's white people's fault, blah, 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 blah. Does anybody ever ask themselves, by the way, the question, like, in a genuinely white supremacist society, would you be able to do any of this shit? Of course not. Of course you wouldn't be able to. I mean, is this woman able to actually conceptualize that? I don't know. It's just very easy to blame other people for your own flaws. Caps is saying are totally correct. I am totally correct. Let's see. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, is it racist to expect people to be on time? Yeah, I just don't think so. Really don't think. I don't think that white people invented punctuality. It seems like actually like something like a Klan member would say, a Grand Wizard would say. Super fucked up. All right. I'm going to try and find something fun. So I got to end this real quick. Let's see. What about this one here? I don't know if this one's fun. All right, let's listen to this.
The way this bill targets trans people in the name of gender equality is simply insulting. Don't believe for a second that this is about protecting women and girls. My amendment would require a report on the impacts of this bill on all female athletes, since categorical bans on trans women harm all women. That is why women's organizations across the country, including the Women's Sports Foundation, have denounced categorical bans on trans athletes for promoting fear, dangerous stereotypes, unfair scrutiny on high-performing female athletes, and sex discrimination based on misinformation. And just think about this for a second. How are you going to enforce this ban? How do you verify a girl or a woman's, quote, reproductive anatomy? We have already seen horrific sexual abuse against girls and women in sports. If a woman or a young girl...
How do you tell? Well, I don't know. If she's got a beard and an erection, that might be a tell right there. You know? I think people are pretty good, just, intuitively good at telling the difference, right? Again, beard and cock and balls is a pretty good indication, right? Like if there's a naked man in the change room, it's pretty obvious what's going on, right? The alternative is just to have obvious men win at everything in women's sports. This is insane. It's all their fault. Everything is their fault. Everything they do is incredibly stupid and retarded. I feel like at this point, just like every bad thing in the world now is coming from the left. I feel like really we have to just at this point just say no to anything they say. No to anything. Just anything that comes from any leftist politician or person, just say no. No, whatever it is, no. No, you've had your run. You've controlled every institution. You're controlling the media. You're controlling government. No, nothing else. Everything you do seems to turn everything to shit.
Everything woke turns to shit.
No, nothing else. Yeah, but what about, well, I'm concerned. No. Don't care. Don't care what you're concerned about. Everything you do is terrible. Everything you believe is terrible. Every policy that the people you vote for is terrible. No, but what about, think about the shut up, commie. No, fuck off. We're not listening anymore. Nothing else. We're going to have to go through a period, a generational change where people can forget how incredibly stupid your ideas are, how incredibly damaging and incoherent and dysfunctional your ideas are. We're going to have to go through a generation where for people to forget how terrible everything you believe in is before anybody will ever listen to it again. I think that's where we need to go with this. No, absolutely not. Trudeau, Canadians are compassionate. That's why we need to import 800 million refugees next month. No. Shut up, commie. No. An infinite number of no's. No until the end of time. No until the heat death of the universe. No until after the heat death of the universe, and then infinity. No. An infinite number of no's. Never. No. Forget it. J-Ham says that's a great campaign slogan. No. I think you've hit on something there, J-Ham. I think that should be the new campaign slogan for all conservatives. No. And what are conservatives now? The categories have shifted so much that I guess it's just a word we use. It's really just anybody that's fucking sane. So all of the sane people of the world need to rise up as one. We need to rise up together. And together, we need to say, loud enough for the entire world to hear us. We have to say no. Fuck no. Are you with me, people? Anyway, I think I've made myself clear. And 10:50. All right. Maybe we have time for one more. Just one more. Something fun. There's Sydney Sweeney's boobs again. I'm in favor. I'm a fan. That retarded chick says no. Damn straight no. Let's see. What do we got? We've got one more. All right. We'll end it off with this one. Ashley St. Clair says he really took one for the team. There's an article. Who's behind all the pussy in bio on X? All the spam. Pussy in bio spam. I clicked all the way through, so you don't have to. I've really got to get to the bottom of this. I'm gonna have to go through all of it. I'm gonna have to go through all of the porn spam on Twitter, on X. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to get to the truth. I'm just gonna have to lock myself in my bedroom for 2 weeks. He really took one for the team. It's hilarious and also kind of depressing, I think. And maybe that's where we'll leave this off. Hilarious and depressing. So first off, before I go, everybody who's not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. You can see all my videos. I normally only do one live stream a week, Friday nights, but I'm releasing 10, 15, 17 videos a week. Outside of that, a lot of clips from this, because most people, we've been going for 3 hours and 20 minutes. Most people aren't going to watch 3 hour and 20 minute long live stream. So I take the best bits out. I clip them. I clean them up a little bit. I cut out me like clearing my throat and all that stuff. Or at some moment, I might have sounded like a complete retard, and I'll cut that out. But then I also do my original ones too, that aren't part of the live streams, and those are more produced. The longtime followers, like Hot Retarded Chicks, know all about those. So yeah, subscribe, and you can do all that. I want to thank Antipop again for the $10 on the Rumble rants. That's very much appreciated. And yeah, I guess I will see everybody next week. I don't know if I did it early this week, 7:30, earlier than I normally do it, because there's boxing on at 11 that I want to watch. So that's the reason. Next week probably be a little bit later. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But the only thing I know is that I'll be live next Friday. Oh, wait a second. You know what? I missed some chats here, because you know what? After 3 hours, the Rumble chat stops showing up on the screen, and it stops showing up in my live chat thing on the studio thing here. So let me just take a quick look at those. Let's see. Antipop says she's so small. Who are you talking about there? I'm talking about what's her name? Sydney Sweeney? Because I think she's kind of petite, but she just has these beautiful, juicy tits. I'm a fan. Freya Dick says, my campaign slogan is, people are going to die. And I say, just let them. That's dark, Freya Dick. That's dark. People are going to die. And I say, just let them. Dear Lord, you have a dark mind. But I appreciate the contribution. So, yeah, thanks everybody who's been in the chat. The chat makes it way more fun for me. And I love kind of bouncing stuff off you guys in the chat. It's awesome. And we'll see you next week, next Friday. And yeah, have a great weekend, everybody. Happy Easter, right? Yeah. See ya.